the Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons, Uganda, colleagues from civil society organizations, the Interreligious Council of Uganda, and the Uganda National Students Association, our distinguished guests from India, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good morning. It is both an honor and a sacred privilege to welcome you all to this significant gathering, the Uganda-India Bilateral Symposium on Human Trafficking. On behalf of Colonel Chatonda Teu, the Territorial Commander of the Salvation Army Uganda Territory, and our partners in this noble cause, I extend to you our heartfelt greetings and appreciation for joining us today in this united stand against one of the most dehumanizing crimes of our time. This symposium takes place under a theme that speaks powerfully to our shared mission, fostering collaboration, strengthening resiliency, and shaping safe futures. It reminds us that combating human trafficking cannot be achieved in isolation. It demands partnership between governments, faith-based organizations, law enforcement agencies, civil society, and the community at large. Only through collective action can we dismantle the complex network that exploit the vulnerable and rob individuals of their God-given dignity and freedom. The Salvation Army has been at the forefront of this fight since the 19th century. From rescuing exploited workers in London's streets to modern efforts of rehabilitation, advocacy, and survivor empowerment across the globe. Here in Uganda, our partnership with the government agencies, COPTIP, CATIP, and other stakeholders continues to yield progress in prevention, victim support, and awareness campaigns within communities most at risk. Today's symposium marks a milestone not only in strengthening the Uganda-India partnership, but also in reaffirming our shared moral and spiritual commitment to safeguarding human dignity. It is a day to learn from each other's experiences, to strategize together, and to renew our compassion, to renew our passion for building societies where no person is bought, sold, or exploited. As we deliberate, let us remember that behind every statistic is a face, a child, a mother, a youth yearning for hope and restoration. May our discussions today lead to tangible actions that heal, protect, and empower. In conclusion, I wish to thank our organizing team, particularly our national contact person, Mr. Emmanuel Wataka, for the good work done, and all our distinguished delegates and every partner presented here for your dedication and tireless work that you do. May this symposium not only inspire ideas, but also ignite sustainable partnerships that will continue to save lives and shape safer futures. Once again, on behalf of the Salvation Army Uganda Territory, I warmly welcome you all. May God bless you and the work of your hands. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Sichibona, for the welcome remarks. At this juncture, we are going to get a background brief of how this whole symposium came to happen. Everything always has where it started from. It does not come from anywhere. We are going to invite Crystolite Sanamanda, who is the founder and executive director of Red Rope Movement. Red Rope is one of the partners that have made this event happen. They've partnered with the Salvation Army Anti-Human Trafficking Project. She is coming to give us a brief background of how this symposium came to existence. You're welcome.
Thank you. Namaste from India. Let me take a deep breath while I say this in Uganda, right? Musuze Mutia? Sorry, forgive me, apologies. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's such a joy and honor to just witness this spectacular moment of India-Uganda bilateral agreement, bilateral symposium on human trafficking. This is just not conversation. This is just not, like you said, it didn't appear from the thin air, but it is definitely a deep conviction that we want to see freedom beyond borders. To give you a little background, I come from the land of India, where we do have a lot of internal trafficking. India houses 18.3 million accounted victims of human trafficking. Let that sink in, 18.3 million. So we do have systems and practices to tackle, at least on the paper, the issues of human trafficking within the borders. But 3.5 years back, when I first encountered a Ugandan victim, highly exploited, malnourished, immovable, attempting to become a vegetative state, when we heard her story, it moved us beyond, and we said this cannot just be confined with the borders of India. So for the past 3.5 years, Red Rope Movement, we've worked alongside partners like the Salvation Army, Willow International, OUR Rescue, Rehab Uganda, and other partners to repatriate around 76 survivors that have been trafficked from Uganda and other East African zone to India. And partners like the Salvation Army, Manobal Foundation, ARC India, they themselves have repatriated around 38 survivors. So in total, we're looking at 136 survivors that are repatriated back to their home countries, out of which 50% of them are Ugandans. Arnold said, these are just not statistics. These are lives and families behind them. In the beginning, in 2023, we were very curious to understand their stories, their lives, and their challenges. Their challenges stemmed not just on losing their identity, which is their passport, but also basic access to medical care, safe housing, even to register a lost passport complaint, to register complaints against traffickers, recruiters, violence on the streets, women being raped, women being punched with screwdrivers, mobbed, and left unattended. The struggles didn't stop there, but when they had to envision going back home, the heavy charge of overstay fine, not forgetting the weight of trauma that each of these women goes through, which is beyond these accounted statistics. As months passed, while we're trying to settle ourselves to rally through these challenges, we were also very keen in understanding why and what brings these women here. We tried understanding what are the push factors, what are the pull factors. How did all of this conspire? We quickly learned of this tragic, painful, eye-opening factors like teen pregnancies, single mothers, absentee fathers, dysfunctional families, and majorly school dropouts. Not undermining the deterrence of poverty and economic opportunities or unemployment. We realize that all of this has been feeding into the cycles of vulnerability that traffickers are exploiting. So it became very clear to us that this is not an isolated issue. Human trafficking is just a surface level issue, but there are deep systemic root challenges that has to be tackled upon. An organization like us or all of us together is not enough. We needed government intervention. We needed systemic policies. We need systems that thrive on justice, that thrive on collaboration, not compete with each other, not shoo away from these gigantic social injustice. We envision that governments, agencies, communities have to come together to work alongside to prevent, protect, prosecute, and reintegrate this hope that we're talking about. Because no woman, no man, nor a child is born to be prostituted, is born to be enslaved, is born to be forgotten. They all deserve the freedom that you and I have. On realizing this, along with the Salvation Army, we have envisioned a virtual symposium which occurred on the 10th and 11th August 2023. The report can be accessed through one of these QR codes. The media team will help us put it up. So please read through the report, and reading it for ourselves, we realize that, oh, this can't end here. This is just the beginning. This has to go beyond the virtual corridors. We felt that there is a high essential need for in-person dialogue, of face-to-face conversations where voices, stories, policies, commitments could be made. And today we are here because this strong conviction, and I thank our partner Emmanuel Wataka, who has taken up this on behalf of Salvation Army, and other partners who coined together. He was able to rally all of us together to champion this dialogue, to champion this symposium today. So this symposium is just not an event. It is a venture of faith, courage, conviction, and collaboration. This Uganda-India Bilateral Symposium on Human Trafficking is born absolutely for justice to thrive. Because justice cannot exist in silos. It is an effort to bring together every key stakeholders, governments, law enforcement, legal entities, embassies, NGOs, communities, business partners, academia, to design mechanisms that are coordinated among compassion and sustainability. Today as we meet, I also want to humbly submit the absence of our very major key stakeholder, the Indian government, the country of destination, and my own country. While I'm here representing, I'm sure the rhythms that all of us are going to make will reach to them, and it will be caught upon that we speak together for truth, compassion, and our words carry weight beyond these rooms and borders. Our hope is that what stems here will not fade away here. Our hope is that we will begin to converse and envision stronger systems, deeper cooperation, and lasting change for every woman, every person, man, child, woman, irrespective. cannot be silenced. That every community that has been longing for justice to flow like a river, here is an opportunity. That we will go beyond policy, bringing every person that has been waiting, that is waiting to be seen, that is waiting to be believed, and that is waiting to be set free. Today, may our dialogues go beyond this, bridging prevention to reintegration, bridging people and policy. It is for this freedom that Christ has set all of us free. Thank you.
Can we have a better clap for Chrysolite? Thank you so much. Now that we have a brief background of where we've come from and what has brought us here, I would like to take this opportunity before I call the Katipu chairperson of the board of directors, just to mention the other organizations that have partnered with the Salvation Army anti-trafficking project to make this day come to pass. One, I'll start with Katipu itself. If I get it right, it's a coalition against trafficking. Mwagale, HTI, that is Human Trafficking Institute. KCM, that is Champisi Child Care Ministries. We have Footprint to Freedom. We have Willow International. We have Omugaso International Sanctuary. Make a Child Smile. And UCRN, Uganda Child Rights NGO Network. And may God continue blessing you as you work and take the mantle to see that you can end human trafficking. At this juncture, let's put our hands together as we invite the chairperson of Katipu.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant. Other people would say Lieutenant. But well, it depends which primary school you went to and which corner of the world you're from. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Perfect. We do have some people in the room. Our guest of honor, Your Excellency Ambassador Herbert Chiguli, members of government present from your different departments, Interpol, COPTIP, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and other ministries, departments, and agencies. Our hosts, the Salvation Army, the only army that is not armed with a gun but with a Bible. Distinguished delegates, esteemed partners, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning. My name is Damon Wamara. I am the Executive Director of Uganda Child Rights NGO Network. At the same time, the Chairperson of the Board of Directors for the Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons, which is a coalition that brings together over 30 organizations, some that are present here. I will ask them to stand because we agreed as a coalition would always stand with each other when our members are having an event. So can I ask the coalition members to please stand wherever you are in solidarity for our member organization. As you can see, half of the room is... And I do know that yesterday majority also joined online for the engagement that was online. With me here is also the vice chairperson, Monica, who I know you'll get to know later on, and also the chairperson emeritus, Annette Chirabira. Please stand up and they see you. Dr. Annette. She's a doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here to have a conversation, a dialogue, and an understanding around the issue of human trafficking, not only in Uganda, but in India. Your Excellency, Uganda has made great strides. There is definite evidence that we are not sleeping and we want to see a change. But the stories are not ending. The conversations are continuing. The perpetrators are thriving at the disorganization of our states, of ourselves, and the division amongst ourselves. The perpetrators are taking advantage of that. The perpetrators are taking advantage of the poverty that continues to thrive in the world. They're taking advantage of the desperation of victims not having jobs, of not having what to do, of not even having an education. But we all know that trafficking does not distinguish. It goes for everyone, whether educated, not educated, doctor, not a doctor, anyone can fall victim. But the perpetrators take advantage of that. Uganda has been able to record quite a number of cases, has been able to record quite a number of successes, but the issue continues to persist. Definitely one of the countries that has been a destination for the victims of trafficking, whether passing through Uganda or Ugandans themselves, has been India, for various reasons that could be known, including organ harvesting, including sexual exploitation, including other forms of hard labor that, and others that I have not mentioned. Us coming together with India today, our colleagues from India today, is another testament that we are ready to fight this vice. We are ready to go head on with this vice. The Salvation Army and Red Rope, coming together to bring us to this conversation, pushes us to another light that we cannot do this alone. We need to work together. With over 3,200 cases reported annually in Uganda, with over the 5,000 victims that continue to be recorded, whether with government or civil society, it continues to stand that this cannot be done alone. Instead, we need to stand together. And the best way to be able to stand together is to understand what is going on in Uganda and what is so attractive in India. What can we learn from each other? What are the best practices that we can learn, just as Crystal has already mentioned in her remarks. And for me, this is a testament that we are able to engage and we are ready to hit this head on. We can contribute to the statistics dropping. And our contribution is not staying quiet. I disagree with people who say we are talking too much and doing nothing. Us talking is doing something. And we should never stay silent because we are the voice for those that are suffering. Uganda and India has bilateral understandings. We trade together. We work together. It is time we collaborate together to end this and make India and Uganda an example of a trafficking-free country. We can be able to see many collaborations legally, harmonizing our laws together, understanding. I'm praying, Ambassador, that we'll be able to even learn on the success that India thrives, on how their government is able to respond. And likewise, how India would learn from us on our collaboration. The civil society in Uganda enjoys a good collaboration with the Ugandan government. I'll tell you for sure, as a coalition, and as many of the members under trafficking in persons in the civil society, we are part of the fight. We actually sit on the National Task Force on combating trafficking in persons. This gives us a platform to be able to work together with government, to collect our efforts and to be able to count our gains as a country. The Coalition Against Trafficking in Person calls upon all of us as stakeholders to commit to a united strategic response that transcends our borders and transcends our sectors and transcends our positions through the collective action that we will commit to in this engagement. Can we ensure that by the end of this, we are creating a step forward to a safer community, upholding justice and restoring dignity to the most vulnerable, those that are exploited? Let this symposium today mark the beginning of our intensified commitments as stakeholders and concrete initiatives that will turn the tide around and ensure that finally we will have trafficking in persons as but a history in our country, Uganda. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, Salvation Army. Thank you, Red Rope, for leading this conversation. May we thrive and may we speak without fear or favor, knowing that we are standing for the children, the adults, male, female, and everyone that is a victim of this vice, trafficking in persons. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, the chairperson, Katipu. And thanks so much. You've been very supportive in the entire process of having this event get to here. With all the coalition members, may God continue blessing you. It is a tough war that cannot be won so easily, but we believe there is a song we usually sing which says, I believe we shall win in the strength of the Lord. Hallelujah. This is a moment that we would like to call upon our chief guest. According to the program, he's supposed to come and give us the keynote address. And I believe this is going to set the ball. And from his words, he's definitely going to open our minds so that when we get into the other programs that are coming, we have a basis for the conversation, and it will help us give guidance, because from foreign affairs, and when we are talking of bilateral, it means these are two countries. So we are getting it from the Ugandan perspective. He's none other than, as already mentioned, Ambassador, His Excellency, Ambassador Herbert Chiguli. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. The Master of Ceremonies. As you said, it was meant to be a bilateral. So unfortunately, when Christolite was speaking, she highlighted that the ambassador was not has not been able to join us yet, but I take cognizance that he is expected to be with us. I also want to recognize the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Director Obona, the Chief Secretary of Salvation Army, Uganda, the Asian Regional Consultant on Repatriation and Reintegration, the leadership of Salvation Army, the entire team in the room, the leadership of Red Rope India, and all the actors in the anti-trafficking space, led by the chair, Katip, Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen,
It is with much appreciation that I was chosen to address you on a matter so touchy to all people desirous of freedom against all forms of enslavement, torture, and other vices encroaching on human dignity. Equally, I feel greatly honored to address you before the leadership of Salvation Army and Red Rope, whose tireless efforts towards eradication of trafficking in persons is worth our recognition. We should clap for them. Specifically, I recall the various correspondences we received as a Ministry of Foreign Affairs from these civil society organizations, all geared towards addressing the matter of human trafficking. During my recent visit to India, I interacted with Chrysolite of Red Rope, and she was really passionate about this subject. As you might have watched when she was addressing us here, she feels touched. And we want to thank you very much, Salvation Army and Chrysolite, for joining us in fighting against the vice. As governments of Uganda and India, this is our core mandate. But when we get actors who are on the ground and they provide us with hands-on information, we don't take it for granted, and we are grateful for that. So with regard to the objectives of this meeting, allow me to express our appreciation to the organizers of this symposium for the decision to hold it in Uganda at a time when all ministries, departments, and agencies concerned are exploring options aimed at stemming the vice, whose continued existence systematically dents the image of our country. As a foreign service officer at the helm of consular services function within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I feel dismayed at the number of people who on a weekly basis lodge their appeals for intervention into their plight because of a brother, a sister, or a father, or a mother who found themselves trafficked and cornered into dangerous environments, many times innocently. Listening to the stories of some of the rescued trafficked persons, one cannot help but get distressed by the horror through which the victims get subjected to. Myself and my colleague Susan recently were in India, later in United Arab Emirates, and we listened to this story. But previously we had been to New Delhi. We also interacted with the trafficked persons. And the stories are horrifying. But also the major concern that we noted in India, the diaspora that is there is composed of the trafficked and the traffickers. Unique from the other countries where you can meet a legit diaspora. Within India, the diaspora operates underground. So you cannot help this community unless interventions such as these ones are allowed to thrive, and we put our heads together and see how we can address the concerns that are emerging and forge a way forward. So no doubt these people need to be attended to, and it is us, myself and yourself, sitting in this room, who can come up with options that will help us move forward. It further hurts when one learns that the key facilitators or architects are usually fellow citizens, close relatives and friends who perpetuate this vice by misleading many of our people, ultimately into this blatant form of slavery, much in breach of the very first human right recognized under the international law, the freedom from slavery. Participants will agree that just like Cherry Blair put it, human trafficking has no boundaries. In addition, it knows no race, education standards, etc. All countries are affected either as a source, transit route, or destination of trafficked persons. It is estimated that on an annual basis, about 2,500,000 are recruited, entrapped, and transported, exploited with forced labor as a result of human trafficking within countries or between countries in this region. As indicated yesterday, 20 to 40 million people live in modern-day slavery. And I want to congratulate you yesterday about the discussion, especially to do with the modern-day slavery via cyber crimes. Because this is the way we are losing most of our people now. Using the virtual environment, people are trapped, they are enticed without our knowledge, and they keep it as a secret until they find themselves already trafficked and it is too late. So yesterday's paper and the other deliberations were worth our pursuance, and I congratulate you upon that. It is apparent that despite the illegality and the cruelty with which the trade is executed, it has continued to thrive because of its lucrativeness. Earlier statistics have revealed that this trade in all its forms nets an estimated $332 billion annually for the traffickers. So it is a lucrative industry, and such financial muscle has empowered the traffickers to compromise key actors in the anti-trafficking space, many times making the latter indomitable to victims and their relatives. So the issue of money, the traffickers are highly loaded and they can compromise anyone. And that makes the fighting the vice a complicated matter. Unfortunately, the majority of victims of this crime are girls who are seduced to travel to countries with stronger economies in anticipation of better living standards, higher salaries, and benefits, only to realize that these were wild promises. Indeed, many have ended up on the streets or in brothels within the respective cities around the world. Trafficking, just like poverty, unfortunately, wears a woman's face. Just like poverty, abuse of human rights, etc., it is mainly the female gender that is worst affected. This is because in many developing countries, women and girls are denied the basics for survival, including education, freedom of expression, land rights, subjection to early marriages, etc. The data provided yesterday in relation to Uganda's traffic to India confirms this conclusion. I read the statistics from Red Rope, and you find that actually mostly when we talk of human trafficking, we are talking of girls in India. Indeed, when we interacted with the trafficked lot, we did not find any single male. But although we established that within the traffickers there was a male, but the majority still also the traffickers are women. So it is a serious matter. So within Uganda, in the context of Uganda, the government of Uganda condemns in strongest terms the crime of trafficking in persons. To this end, in 2009, Parliament enacted the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, which sought to create offenses, prosecute and punish offenders, and prevent the vice from occurring in and through Uganda. The Act clearly defined the offense of trafficking in persons. Regrettably, the public knows little about this law. Accordingly, and many Ugandans have severally involved inadvertently in human trafficking, especially in the recruitment, transportation, harboring, and empowerment of minors, both within and outside Uganda. While others use their pictures and the contacts on social media, which puts the child's safety at high risk. It is therefore of paramount importance that ministries, departments, and agencies responsible for implementation and compliance with this act take trouble to sensitize the public on its existence and the implications it portends to the abusers. Within the context of Ugandan girls trafficked to India, the matter had remained obscure to the leadership until recently, when it was brought to our attention by our mission and the various civil society organizations, including Red Rope and Salvation Army. Upon its appreciation of the criticality of human trafficking for Ugandan girls in India, government took action through the mission and the Indian Ministry for External Affairs to start mobilizing the trafficked persons to return home. Uganda's mission in pivotal in collaborating with the Foreign Office in New Delhi for purposes of facilitating those distressed girls to travel back home. To this end, the government of Uganda its appreciation to the government of India for the gesture of love expressed in this matter. Twice, the government of India has waived the requirement for these trafficked girls to pay overstay fines in excess of US dollars 1,500 on average for each of the trafficked girls who wish to return. So we need to give a clap to the government of India in this direction. In the latest ongoing case, has embarked on mobilizing all willing voluntary returnees to register for eventual repatriation. On its part, the ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, rather of Internal Affairs, has waived the required payment for emergency travel documents in each voluntary returning case. So anyone who wants to come home, they don't need to pay for voluntary documents because many of these don't have passports. So Minister of Internal Affairs has consented to that, and we are grateful. Our recent inquiry on the level of response has shown that it is very low. We officially, there is a figure that is recognized that about 6,000 girls are trafficked in there. Although my colleague here, the director Interpol, is saying no, the statistics are low. Otherwise, the figures are higher, close to 100,000 Ugandans known to be in India across the whole region. So we need now to work with civil society organizations to see how best the actual statistics can be captured and be able to work from an informed point of view. Whereas Section 14 of this Act, Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, makes it the responsibility of the responsible minister to facilitate the repatriation of the victims to and from Uganda. The government has sometimes found itself without immediate resources to address the matter in a timely manner. To this end, we express our commendation to Red Rope India, Salvation Army for the demonstrated commitment of contributing towards the voluntary repatriation of willing, ready Ugandans. We need to clap for them. I was updated that following this recent initiative, already about some 8 of them have been facilitated to come home. So we are grateful. Within the existing regulatory framework of the country, Government of Uganda, under its Ministry of Internal Affairs, has established a coordination office responsible for monitoring compliance with this act, specifically the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Office formulates comprehensive and integrated programs to fight the vice, prepares annual national plans related to prevention, prosecution, and protection of trafficked persons, and maintains a database on trafficking in persons and conducts attendant research. Besides, the ministry is responsible for convening interministerial meetings aimed at addressing emerging issues in this area. And no doubt, the case of India will be put on table for further consideration, and any issues that are emerging from this discussion will be brought to bear on the business to be conducted. As a way forward, during this or after here, the government of Uganda remains grateful for all the actors in the anti-human trafficking space for the support extended towards restoration of human dignity through organized, dignified repatriation and reintegration. That is very important. In the past, these innocent Ugandans from other countries, not necessarily India, would be returned on chains. That is really not dignity, as if they are real thieves. But the dignified repatriation, which is organized and which is the intention of this symposium, is a welcome undertaking. Secondly, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, through its mission in Delhi, will continue to collaborate with the government of India to help in returning and reintegrating the voluntary returnees within the stipulated time and in line with the existing regulatory framework. The Ministry of Internal Affairs, that's the third one, is urged to enhance strategies aimed at stemming the vice from its source through regular interministerial agency engagements and tight immigration controls, adopting the 4 Ps, that is prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership. And fourth, there is this one is a unique one. You are saying the bilateral agreement now in draft will call for a deeper analysis of the essence of its initiation and implementation modalities. This observation is cognizant of the long-standing cordial cooperation between the government of Uganda and the government of India, arising out of which many migrants of Indian origin have since acquired citizenship or resident work permits in Uganda. It is our considered view that within the spirit of reciprocity, government of India could consider identifying some long-stay migrants under its jurisdiction who, although hitherto were trafficked, but have found a new fit in commerce, hospitality, employment, and regularize their stay by granting them work visas. That's a request. There will be need for more assistance schemes towards the integration of these trafficked nationals upon their return, and that will involve or call the intervention of means of gender, labor, and social development, because that is where the mandate lies. I am not sure whether we invited participants from this entity, because they will be core as we plan to reintegrate these people into the community. The ministry looks forward to fruitful discussions aimed at emerging with a mutually acceptable and beneficial draft bilateral cooperation agreement for eventual escalation to the responsible authorities for review, adoption, and eventual signature. Finally, allow me to thank all of you attending this symposium and to trust that you will continue devoting your energies and professionalism towards the successful realization of the symposium objectives. I take this opportunity again to thank you for coming and look forward to fruitful deliberation from everybody here for God and my country. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Can we give him a better clap? Asante sana. Next on our program, we were to start with our first session, but I'm assuming that many people are feeling the way I'm feeling. To be precise, I missed my breakfast because of the traffic, so I'm assuming many were in the situation like I am. For that matter, I'll ask that we take a break, have some bites, then we'll get back. But as we're moving out, we have some exhibition stalls out there. Those stalls are showcasing products of done or produced by the survivors who have been repatriated, are trained, and are engaging into economic activities. So they have products. It would be good. You can also support them by buying some of them. You can support them by connecting them to a market out there, friends at your workplace, or something of the sort. So as we share our cup of tea, let's also move around and check the stalls and also encourage them. I will ask the Territorial Secretary for Women Ministries, who is Lieutenant Colonel Irene Sichibona, to lead us through, to bless the tea so that when we get it, we just proceed. We are going to spend, we have about 15 minutes because we are a little bit behind time to do all that and get back. Karibu Mama.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we come before you with our hearts full of thanksgiving to you for the gift of life that you have given to each one of us. Before us, there is a cup of tea. As we go to take, oh Lord, may you bless it so that when we take, we get energy to serve you even better. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. We can break. Those online will be back within 20 minutes. We thank you so much for being patient and following with us. So stay online. You can also take a break, then we'll come back and proceed together. God bless you. Karibu. Let's all move out and take as short time as possible as we have our break tea. You're welcome.
According to the 2024 Trafficking in Persons report, Uganda still remains a significant source, transit, and destination of human trafficking. Vulnerable populations, including women, youth, migrants, refugees, are still lured into false jobs and education. Behind every statistic is a human story. A young woman deceived, a family torn apart, a life lost. Survivors are at the heart of why urgent action is needed. In response, the Salvation Army Uganda, in partnership with the Red Rope movement in India and the Coalition of Trafficking in Persons Uganda, is convening a Uganda-India bilateral symposium on human trafficking. This is not just a meeting, it's a call for coordinated international action, a space where government, law enforcement, survivor-led organizations, faith-based organizations, civil society unite to strengthen bilateral ties and create solutions and forge commitments. Together, we can turn despair into hope, captivity into freedom, and exploitation into justice. Join us on the 24th of October 2025 at the Uganda-India Bilateral Symposium on Human Trafficking, a decisive step towards dignity, protection, and lasting change. According to the 2024 Trafficking in Persons report, Uganda still remains a significant source, transit, and destination of human trafficking. Vulnerable populations, including women, youth, migrants, refugees, are still lured into false jobs and education. Behind every statistic is a human story. A young woman deceived, a family torn apart, a life lost. Survivors are at the heart of why urgent action is needed. In response, the Salvation Army Uganda, in partnership with the Red Rope movement in India and the Coalition of Trafficking in Persons Uganda, is convening a Uganda-India bilateral symposium on human trafficking. This is not just a meeting, it's a call for coordinated international action, a space where government, law enforcement, survivor-led organizations, faith-based organizations, civil society unite to strengthen bilateral ties and create solutions and forge commitments. Together, we can turn despair into
needing cross-border cooperation. It's usually between, from and through countries, in case in point, India and Uganda, and it's shaped by cross-border criminal networks, labor migration, and online recruitment. Both countries have domestic frameworks and active programs. For example, in Uganda, we have the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, CAP 131. We have the National Action Plan, and then we have many other laws in Uganda that are in line with combating of trafficking. For example, we have the Uganda Citizenship and Immigration Control Act and all the labor laws and regulations there are in. India and Uganda are both sources, transits, and destination countries for trafficking. Therefore, the cooperation that we are strongly advocating for shall ensure faster prosecution, safer repatriation, and disruption of these criminal networks that are engaging in trafficking activities. Our law in Uganda is aligned with the Palermo Protocol, and we are in the process of amending it. We are amending it to cater for emerging trends, new crimes that are coming up, especially online recruitment and money laundering. We've looked at the national framework, which is the COPTIP, the PTIP, the Children's Act, the Employment Regulations, the Penal Code, Employment Act, and the Uganda Citizenship and Immigration Control Act. In Uganda, we have key ministries that are fighting to combat trafficking. We have the Ministry of Internal Affairs, we have the Office of the President, we have the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, we have the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, we have the Office of the Prime Minister, we have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we have the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Those are the agencies, ministries, departments, and agencies that we are working with to combat trafficking. Currently, we have gaps in our bilateral relations. If I can take you back to 2018, where we had a state visit from the Prime Minister of India, and one of the things that were emphasized by our President and the Prime Minister of India was the bilateral cooperation. However, this is all on paper. We have not implemented anything. Therefore, we are here to present and give a rationale of why this is needed, why we need to have strong bilateral relations between us and India, since we are one of the countries that have the biggest trafficking cases world over. So one of the challenges we have is we do not have a formal mutual legal assistance treaty or an extradition treaty. So we need to look into this, draft one, come up with it, and then implement it on both sides. We have divergent legal opinions, legal frameworks, Uganda and India, so you find that our laws are not in line. So we need to sit down and harmonize that so that it makes cooperation much easier. Slow victim repatriation and coordination gaps, victims that are got in both countries. There's the process of repatriating them, reintegrating them, and bringing them, taking them back into their home countries is a bit slow on both sides. We are not doing a blame game here. It's slow on both sides, so we need to look with bilateral cooperation. This will probably be looked into, and we shall have a mechanism that will support both of us in this. Data sharing, weak intelligence, this is also a gap, especially in Uganda. We have seen that we have a data sharing problem. Our systems are not in sync. So my immigration system, which is either the PICE system or the e-immigration system, Ministry of Foreign Affairs cannot access it. And yet we have to work together to get all this information together. That is the way that we shall be able to get these numbers, have statistics, know the people that we are dealing with. But there are instances where you're going to call on Ministry of Foreign Affairs and say, help us repatriate this number of Ugandans. We have them in our system. And then when you check with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they're like, but when we talk to the consular office or the mission, we don't have these people. They are not registered as Ugandans. So we need to narrow that gap of information sharing and intelligence so that at whatever point, be it Indians in Uganda who have been trafficked, Ugandans in India, we have that information. But the problem we have is most times these people go out illegally. They do not communicate. The trafficking agents take them out. They don't tell them why they are taking them out, so they get there and get stuck and don't give them access to their consular services and consular rights. We have capacity disparities that comes, as Ambassador Kigoli mentioned earlier. There is a problem of funding, costing. As government, we are not a very big country. We are still a small country developing. So we don't have a lot of money to spare in some things, but we are trying, as the case might be. And also training of officers. Our officers are not so well trained, be it police, be it us as immigration officers, people at missions. There's a lot of training needed. There's a gap in the training, in the capacity building of officers, the implementers of this law of trafficking. Let's look at the strategic objectives that we need in strengthening this bilateral legal cooperation and policy harmonization. There is a need to harmonize the legal frameworks and the definitions within both laws, Uganda and India. There is a need to create cooperation mechanisms. For example, we can have MOUs, we can have agreements, we can have mutual legal assistance treaties, we can have joint investigative task force committees. Then we can strengthen the victim centers repatriation. Let's look at the victims and not ignore them. They need this repatriation. They need to be reintegrated into the communities that they are going back to. and they don't need to be stigmatized because they were victims of trafficking. People look at them like, for you had gone to sell. In Uganda, we call it selling, prostitution, and yet they were taken without knowing what they were going to do. We also need to enhance our capacity in investigative and data sharing. As I had mentioned earlier, we need to get our data and investigative skills to make sure that we know the people who are affected. In the event that they come to report, we can identify you. We know you're from here. Now, for us Ugandans, we also have a problem. We shall see an Indian and call the Indian a Pakistani, or because they look alike. So if we have information and we know these are the Indians that are in the country, if this is your person, because minus that, we also have Pakistanis who come to our office masquerading as Indians. By the time you get into the intelligence, you have spent a lot of time. The person has probably paid off so many people, and you cannot get to the bottom of the case. So we need to have a data sharing capacity, and then we also need to align our laws with the Palermo Protocol and other global standards, which will help us curb trafficking in persons. I went ahead to look at the short-term actions that we can look into to make sure that this bilateral cooperation is cemented and concretized. So we can look at signing an anti-trafficking MOU. Currently, and my ambassador will correct me if I'm wrong, we have MOUs that have been signed between Uganda and Rwanda, Uganda and the Netherlands, Uganda and Russia, and we are in the process of signing an MOU between Uganda and Kenya. However, these MOUs are not specific to trafficking in persons. They are general. These MOUs are the titles of these MOUs are migration-related matters. So in that MOU, we put in aspects of trafficking. As we are signing, we say with Somalia, at the borders, if we get a victim of trafficking, this is how we shall handle. But it is just a small para of the MOU. So I think going forward, we need to look into having MOUs that are specific to trafficking in persons, to give us a broader view, to give us a broader way of implementing our laws after we have harmonized them. We need to look at a central center, central authorities, focal point persons that will be dealing, desk officers that will be dealing in cases specific to India and Uganda, in order to have this strong bilateral cooperation and policy harmonization. We need to look into forming a joint working group so that whatever issue comes up, we know the people to call on. Government is big. Today I'm here, Amanda. Next time you'll get another person, because we shall not have a record of Amanda is the one that attended that meeting. Ambassador Kigoli is the one that attended that meeting. So you'll find that at every meeting, there'll be different officers, also depending on the gravity of the work that we have as government. So we need to establish a technical working group where probably both governments will write to the MDAs that are responsible and have these specific people called upon at whatever time so that we don't go back. So for example, I'm here. I have presented on strong bilateral relations. Then next month, there's another meeting of Salvation Army, and then they bring someone else. They will start from what we have already discussed. So we need to establish a joint working group. Then we need to come up with a paper, a concept note, I don't know what we would call it, on the standard operating procedures of how to handle victims of trafficking in regard to reintegration and repatriation. And then we need to launch joint training of officers under the MDAs that are responsible for trafficking in persons so that we know how to deal with these cases. That is the short-term goal. So I look at this, short-term actions to be done between 0 to 12 months. Then I have the medium-term actions between 1 and 3 years. My thinking is we need to negotiate a mutual legal assistance treaty. Then we need to draft an extradition agreement between Uganda and India, align our laws again with the Palermo Protocol, which we are doing, as I mentioned earlier. We are even trying to amend our law Very soon, we are going to have a validation meeting, probably next month, before the year closes, to validate our amendments and then forward it to Parliament for tabling. And then we need to build, with this data sharing, the reason why we are a bit, every ministry, department, agency keeps their data to themselves is because of the security. We don't know where this information will go out to. So we need to develop a central system that we know is secure and the people that can access it are specific, so that this information does not go out there. Then the strengthening in consular and judicial cooperation between Uganda and India. If an Indian is running to the High Commission, let the High Commission be available to help. If a Ugandan is running at the High Commission in India, let them be ready to help and have the solutions, fast solutions to make sure that these victims are catered for. Then we go to the long-term goal, which is between 3 to 5 years. Establishing a joint investigative task force, which will be consulted when cases of trafficking in persons come up. Create reintegration funds for survivors. We are also looking at this in our amendment of the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, where we want to create a fund, but we are still looking at who will control that fund. Should we have a board of trustees? Should we have just a board? Should we have an ED? We are still looking into all that. Then we need to integrate our regional laws and also our international laws that we are party to make sure that all the laws are aligned and we are not stepping on anyone's mandate. Then the training and exchange programs. You will find that the techniques of trafficking in India are different from the techniques of trafficking in Uganda. If we do exchange programs, police goes, immigration goes, NGOs go to India, then India sends us back here, we shall be able to look into deeper the techniques that these agents are using to traffic people, and we shall know, just as first sight, this one is being trafficked, this one is not being trafficked. But we have instances, as an immigration officer, we are also border control. We are the ones that control the borders here in Uganda. You have instances where you look at an Indian, they have come to the airport, all they have is a black Kavera. Here in Uganda, we call it Kampale Nemye, small tiny black Kavera, and that's all they've come with. You ask them, where are you going? And they'll say, I've come for tourism. With a black Kavera, where are you? Tourism, I've come to see animals. He's in torn slippers, the shirt is torn, the Kavera, the documents are popping out, and you're seeing that this person has been brought, because it's a line, they come about 20 to 30 people on the same day. And you're seeing that these people do not know what they have come to do. They just know that their relative from India came here to Uganda and made it, and they think that is what they have come to do. We have instances where we've gone out there and we find them in houses, they are stuck there, they are piled there. It's a house, it's a 2-bedroomed house, there are 50 people living in that house, all of Indian origin. They just tell you we don't have documents. They locked us into this house and told us not to move. So they just come like every month and pick 2, and those ones never come back. So you don't know if they've gotten jobs, if they've been taken back, they just go and never come back. So you just sit and wait for your turn. Same as what is happening in Uganda when they are being taken to the Middle Eastern countries. Capacity building and partnerships. This is one of the things that I think is going to help us combat trafficking. We must have partnerships as the 2 countries to make sure that we curb this trafficking problem. We can use donor networks, we can use development partners, then we can focus on forensics, financial investigation, and trauma-informed care. And then we can look at funding, how we can be able to fund this capacity building and partnerships. It could be a blended government donor partnership where both governments come in. It could be a partnership with other stakeholders to make sure that this one is looked into and harnessed and strengthened. Monitoring and evaluation. This is one of the ways that these bilateral legal cooperations will be strengthened. We need to have a response time, fast response time, when it comes to the mutual legal assistance. If I come to you and I have a victim, I go to the Indian High Commission and we want to look into this case, prosecute and do all those things, let's look at a time limit that will have justice served as fast as possible. So we're looking at 14 days. whereby after that, the victims can be repatriated, supported, investigations are done, and convictions, officers are trained, and regular review and reporting. We need to keep reviewing what we have reports on what we are trying to do, have reports on the people we've gotten. Let's have at least monthly reports, because there it gives even the number. When we are collecting data, it makes it much easier when we have a number of reports. With this strong bilateral cooperation, when they are established and strengthened, we shall have legal and human rights safeguards, whereby there shall be promotion of privacy and protecting of privacy and dignity of these victims. Survivors will have integration, their dignity will be preserved, their human rights will be observed. There shall be a non-refoulement. I think we talked about that principle yesterday on the online meeting. A non-punishment of victims, because most of them are not aware of what they are doing and they don't need to be punished for the sins of others. Going ahead, we could look at the principles. If this is strengthened, it should be victim-centered, there should be rule of law and human rights compliancy. The operations should be timely, they should be data-driven and intelligence-led, and then there should be a multi-sectoral and regional stakeholder engagement. This will create concrete and cemented relationships between Uganda and India, and on top of all that, we shall be able to combat trafficking. Together, India and Uganda, we can set a model for South-to-South cooperation in combating trafficking in persons, built on trust, law, and humanity. This cooperation, if not ignored, saves lives, protects dignity, and strengthens justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Our online audience, we appreciate you for your patience and joining us at this stage, being patient with us. Amanda has made a very good presentation. Everyone has picked whatever I believe can hold on, and I believe everything that everyone is speaking here is building us as we move forward. Like you can see, maybe I don't know if everyone has there were QR codes where we were supposed to pick the program. Maybe those who came a little bit later on, maybe you display them. The QR codes, once you scan, then you will be able to get the program and be able to follow to where we are now. We have just had the first session, that is bilateral legal cooperation and policy, by Amanda Nshemeire Doris, Inspection and Compliance Officer, Ministry of Internal Affairs. Thank you so much. For the first time, I have heard the word Kampala Nemye. I have not been in Uganda for a long time. Kampala Nemye means that Kampala has defeated me. So it means I'm moving with my small luggage, I'm getting out. After, in the program as it was before, it was after her that we were supposed to have gone for break. And after the next, we are supposed to have a survivor voice. Survivor voice. This will be handled by Chrysolite, Sanamanda, who is going to join us here.
Thank you. We'll first watch this video of a survivor that was recently repatriated along with the Salvation Army and Rehab Uganda. So let's listen to what she has to say us.
Freedom kyetegeeza gye ndi nga kubanga nina emirembe gyange nga wenali njagala nga ndi wanene ewaffe nti whereby wenali ebuyingi nali sirina mirembe nti buli ssaawa tubeera kudduka nga poliisi tolina byogera sirina katabo banzijako paasipooti naye kati essaawa eno mpulira eddembe ery'amaanyi okuva linakomawo ewaffe nti nsobola okutambula wonna wemba njagadde nga sirina muntu agenda kuŋŋamba nti tuwe ebyogera ate tuwe bino eno kunkwata kugenda kunsiba kati nze wempulira eddembe nga ndi wano ewaffe. That is my freedom. India government weyinza okuyambira abantu like Ugandans ndowooza kujjawo overstay kujjawo gundi ya overstay kubanga buli omu si buli muntu nti yeesobola gundi ya overstay nti whereby waliwo abalina n'abaana basukka mu kati basobola kusasula overstay kwegulira tiketi kubanga kiriwo omwana asasula n'okusinga omuzadde kasita bajjawo fayini ya overstay kyemanyi abamu bajja kwagala okukomawo kubanga era mulimu abamu abatayagala kukomawo naye abasinga bajja kwagala okukomawo kubanga balina kingi ndowooza kye bamiisinga okuva ewaka nze kyemanyi ezibuwalidde abantu okukomawo nsonga ya overstay naye gavumenti wejjawo overstay bajja kukola ki bajja kwagala okukomawo kubanga ekyasinza okuzibuwalira abantu nsonga ya overstay n'okukalubyamu nti like Uganda ebe tutenyonya abantu okukomawo basobole okukola ki okubakendereza ku gundi ya overstay bakigirewo at least ddala kubanga mubamu lwe batwala ennyonyi era still gavumenti nesigala nga tusaba tusasule ki tusasule overstay ekyasinza okubeera obuzibu oli asobola okubeera nga asobola okwafoodinga tiketi naye nga asobola kwafoodinga overstay y'abantu nga bana kubanga buli ali ebuyindi si buli omu nti ali bulungi waliwo abasobola okyafoodinga ate atasobola kikola ki kyafoodinga nze ensonga yayo gyensaba gavumenti ya India ekwasaganye ku overstay kintu kyamaanyi nnyo batuyambeko ku ekyo. That is it. Saawulira bubi naye just ensonga yange enkulu nti yali y'abasirikale naye ng'omuntu oba osobodde okubeerayo osobola okubeerayo singa waliwo nti omulimu bagaba emirimu awo kyandibadde kirungi okubeerayo naye teri mirimu abayindi bayisa bubi abaddugavu kyekyensonga enkulu eriyo abayindi bayisa bubi abaddugavu nti weabayi basosola n'okufuna ennyumba olina okubeera nga olina ebyogera kituufu kiri nti abayindi abasinga bayisa bubi abaddugavu n'okufuna ennyumba olina okubeera nga olina ebyogera ng'olina empapula tolina mulimu gw'osobola kukola abasirikale babeera bakwatakwata buli ssaawa ne baali bakusana tolina kyolina basobola okuteekako omusango nga n'oba tugulina basobola okuteekako omusango nga ffe batuteekako omusango tetulina na musango yadde bo ekituufu kiri nti basosola nnyo abaddugavu ekitali kirungi. Gavumenti yaffe kyesaba tuyambe nti twetwa tukomyewo nga ffe ba survivors from India at least batufunire emirimu batufunire basikambe ssente basobola okufunira ssente mutandikawo ekintu ekyokukola oba tebasobola tufuniramu because waliwo abataasoma kutuuka ku egyo mirimu gye basobola tutugabirira kati baba balina tufunirayo ku ssente ne tutandikawo ekyokukola ffe nga ffe ekigenda tubeezaawo n'abantu baffe tuba tulina ffe ng'abaana tuba tulina
failures,
kasita
right? So we will let it pause and maybe we will continue with one of the survivors who is amongst our midst, who is again repatriated quite recently. So if I may request all of you to not take any pictures or videos of this statement being made, but this is in the presence of all the government officers for all of us to know the actual pain and what the survivors actually want via this bilateral agreement. So if I may request in our midst to have Emmy with us, if she could join me here.
Thank you, Madam Crystal. Naye nze nsaba ngenda kwogera mu Luganda nsobole okukakasa ensonga eno. Mukama yeebazibwe. Amannya agange bampita Namutebi Kathy. Mbadde India. Naakakomawo kati mpezezza wiiki. Nakomawo lwakusatu oluwedde. Nsooka okwebaza gavumenti yaffe wamu ne gavumenti ya India okutuwa omukisa gwa Amnesty ne tusobola okuyambibwako Red Rope India nesobola okutuzza. Ffe abasazeewo okuva mu India naye ng'abantu bangi bakyali eyo, abakyala bangi abaasiraanira eyo, abali eyo abatalina ssuubiri dda, abatamanyi ki kye banaakola nga bakomyewo wano. Bannange neebaza nnyo 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 gavumenti yaffe ne NGOs naddala Red Rope India. Madam Kathy, Madam Crystal, thank you so much. Yes. Kakati bannange ekiri e India kyo kikambwe. Kyo kikambwe ddala. Naye nga nze ndowooza nti kivudde ku tiketi oba lwakuba ya layisi. Ne visa, duration ya visa eya multi-entry mpanvu. Kino kiviirako abantu okubeera mu India for a long time. Ne baviirako okutraffickinga abantu kubanga essente mu India ntono ddala. Kati kino kiviirako omuntu bw'abeera eyo abulwa ssente ezimuzza kubanga ebintu bya Amnesty bijja for after 3 to 2 years. Kati n'agenda ng'akukusa abantu oyo okuva mu byalo n'abayingiza olw'ensonga nti tiketi ntono ya ssente ntono ne visa emala ebbanga ddene. Ekyo kiviiriddeko abantu okubeera mu India ebbanga eddene. Madam Crystal.
You know, I know that there is a custom in Uganda and Africa, you kneel down respecting and forgiving. So on behalf of India, we want to ask for forgiveness for all that we have caused. Insides from her heart. And I would like and I pray that all of us let it sink so that we could work on it. And I want to put a note of ignorance here. I did not understand what she said, but I only understood Madam Christo, that she mentioned. I have not bribed her to do this. I do not know what she said, but it all came from her heart. So thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. That was a humbling experience for those who not understand Luganda. I think just the key issues she mentioned that she feels are causing them into this one was ignorance, poverty, which she repeated, poverty. Women are not told what they are going to do when they are living here. They promise them maybe you're going to Canada, nice places. Then they find themselves in India unknowingly. She also says that how can government help, stroke encourage victims to return? Government needs to set up an environment that gives them a survival or some economic empowerment so that they can be encouraged to come back. And justice, she feels the trafficked victims in India at times also engage in they become part of the agents of the same trade. Those, I think in summary, that's what she mentioned. At this juncture, we are going for the panel discussion, which shall be handled by none other than Apuli Babigumira from Mambo, Africa. Many people have been wondering why I have not been giving the profiles of the speakers. I don't want to repeat. He will do that as he invites them to handle the panel discussion. That will be towards a bilateral framework, opportunities, barriers, and solutions. Karibu.
I need to confirm that a friend of mine there is ready with my... Please give me a signal when you're ready. I don't feel welcomed, so I'm going to force you to welcome me. So as soon as you're ready, my brother, you let me know. Momentarily, before I greet you, let me tell you a story. Recently, I was speaking to a friend of mine, very dear to me. Dear to the extent dear can be. Her best friend is in a particular country, and she's been there for about 2 years. And after having an ordeal like hers, she realized she's only wasting her time being in this country because she wasn't making any money, no saving any. So she decided to leave. Here's the problem. The host family had politely kept her passport. I'm not going to say confiscated. I've said what? Politely did what? Kept for her passport. And to them, she was so good to the family, to the kids, so they weren't willing any time to let her go. And she's been stuck for a while. And just a moment. And a few weeks ago, after some engagements, they finally let her come back home. Now for me, seeing my friends organizing a prayer just to thank God that someone has been given their freedom, it was absurd. That among all the reasons why we organize for prayers, we organize prayers because someone has been allowed to access her passport. It's not that I wasn't thankful. It is just that I wanted to let you know it doesn't matter to you because it has not happened to someone close to you. You could even be in the process of advocating against human trafficking. But you may not feel the pain until the person being talked about is known to you personally. And as we go into the panel discussion, I wanted to ask every one of us, and I'm sorry if I breach protocol, to raise up and follow my instructions. Please raise up. And the DJ box, we are now ready for you. Now, these are the instructions. I want you to listen. You've oversat. I don't want my panelists to come here and you doze when they are speaking. So I have to wake you up. So these are the instructions. Listen to that song. There's a clap in that song. So everywhere there's a clap, I expect you to clap with them. And we should make sure we are all in sync. The moment we are all in sync, I'll let you start. So the next part, we are also going to raise our legs a little bit.
I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my
Thank you very much. Asante sana. You may have your seats. You may have your seats, ladies and gentlemen. We are now ready for the panel, not so? We are live now, not so? Okay. It is an honor for me to moderate this high-level panel titled From Dialogue to Policy, Advancing a Bilateral Response to Human Trafficking. Over the past sessions, we've reflected on painful realities and stories of human trafficking, a trade that robs men, women, and children of their freedom and, most painfully, their future. Yet, this gathering here reminds us that partnership is power and collaboration is hope in action. Proverbs, being that most of you are Christians, Proverbs chapter 31, verse 8 to 9 reminds us to speak up for those who are what? Are voiceless. And we fight for the poor and the needy. And for that reason, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation today is about speaking up, not only in words, but in policy, coordination, and decisiveness. My role is very simple: to guide the conversation toward a solution that is survivor-centered, collaborative, and actionable. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting our panel at exactly 5 minutes past 12. So allow me to introduce our panelists. And the moment I'm done with the panelists, I'm going to teach you how to clap. Now, the MC is a Christian soldier. Huh? So Christian soldiers, they're authoritative, but at the same time polite. Now me, I am a self-appointed soldier. I go by my rules. So for that reason, I have to teach you how to clap. So the moment I introduce someone who's going to come at the panel, you clap at unison. Let's try it. So you're going to clap until I come, right? So ladies and gentlemen, welcome the moderator, Mr. Puliwa. Yeah, that's how you do it. And then the last instruction, before I invite my people, the last instruction, let's try do this. So every time someone makes a good point before they are done their submission, let's do what? Do not clap. But also only do what? That. And it is very important that you encourage them to make good points, because these are people who are going to make conversations that might lead to a solution of a problem we are looking at. So ladies and gentlemen, the lady I am going to invite first. The lady I'm going to invite first is a young lady. Is the only person who has the authority to tell us what happens, except maybe the person who has just spoken. This lady is a survivor of trafficking, an activist and an advocate against modern day slavery. She is the founder of Mwagali Foundation, a survivor-led organization founded and created to bring up awareness on human trafficking, survivor support, and advocate for migrant worker rights. She is a member of the Global Migrant Workers Network. She represents Uganda on the Interim Leadership Council as well as the Executive Committee of the Global Migrant Workers Network. She is an artist. When I say artist, means she is a poet and she's a filmmaker. A tool that is used by the same organization to advocate and do activism. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together in power as we welcome Miss Ndagire Joanita. Miss Ndagire Joanita is our first panelist and will bring to us the perspective of a survivor and a survivor leader. And then, ladies and gentlemen, this one, there's someone who has decided to put a particular title on me, someone in Salvation Army. Yet I don't deserve the title, but this particular one deserves this title. She is a doctor, but not medical. She is a counseling psychologist by profession with a PhD. Piwati? Do you know PhD in full? Okay, PhD. In organization leadership, she is a founder member and the executive director of Rahab, Uganda, a non-profit organization in Uganda working to contribute to ending commercial sexual exploitation. And someone has already recognized that most of our victims are girls, and most of their atrocities committed to them somewhere else are sexual atrocities. And the lady I'm talking about, she also participates in fighting against trafficking in person. She is equally a former chairperson of the board of directors of the Coalition Against Trafficking in Person. The doctor I am talking about has a wealth of experience in trauma-informed approaches in assisting victims, survivors. She has been the counter-trafficking space for 2 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Dr. Annette Cherabira. So I expect that doctor is going to give us also the technical part of the things we are talking about psychologically. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, the time I used to work with the judiciary, it made me learn that sometimes we think we are in power when we are not. Sometimes because of the positions we have, we think we have what? Power. Until one day when I was attending an event of the president, and I was handling protocol, and someone came and told me, the head of public service, where he sits, then the CDF sits, and then the IGP, and then the Commissioner General of Prisons. And then I asked, but why? And they told me now, that is the power of the president. That is the arm of the state. So it doesn't matter the policies we talk about if we don't have people who we call the arm of the state. So ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman I'm going to introduce brings in that aspect. He is currently leading the International Law Enforcement Coordination and Cross-Border Crime Investigation with nearly 3 decades of distinguished service in the Uganda Police Force. He has held key leadership roles in criminal investigation and corruption training and strategic liaison with local and international agencies. Previously, he has served as the Deputy Director of Criminal Investigation Directorate of Uganda, where he oversaw major transnational crime investigations. He also served as the Commissioner of Police, Urban Government and Programs and Anti-Corruption Fraud Investigation Department. Earlier in his career, he served in various investigative and command roles at Interpol, Uganda. in Kamuli, Kotido, Komi, Mbale, Kampala Central Police Station, steadily rising through the ranks since 1995. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman I'm talking about is recognized in his commitment to strengthening law enforcement, collaboration, combating organized crime, and promoting international policy cooperation through strategic partnerships between Uganda and other nations. Ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman I'm talking about is the director of Interpol Uganda and International Relations, Assistant Inspector General of Police, Afande Obono Joseph. Put your hands together as we welcome the HB to join our panel. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the only gentleman that doesn't need recognition and introduction, because my MC has already introduced him. He's the chief guest. So as of now, by order of precedence, we are all subordinates. So ladies and gentlemen, not to interrupt what the MC could have done, I want you to put your hands together by raising up in thanking him for deciding to spend time since morning, and I've seen he has something to say in the afternoon. So just to thank him for doing that, as he comes, please stand up and we welcome Ambassador Herbert Chigli, the Head Consular Services, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador, Your Excellency, you're welcome. And we may have our seats, ladies and gentlemen. Simple rules as I take up my seat. One, I should have always friends like you. Thank you very much. So we are ready, not so? So the simple rules are that I'm just going to do some adjustment here so that I can see my panelists. I am glad to see you all. Somehow when I was looking at you, I suspected you're the ones. So I just didn't want to walk to you and say, you look like you're my panelist. But I'm glad that I've met you. Simple rules. When you have something to ask, please. I am told to check this one and whether it's on. So I'll keep with this one for now. Simple rules I was saying. Okay. When you have something to comment about, to ask, please take note. Do not interrupt. Number two, my panelists will have approximately 5 minutes to respond to the questions, each question that I'm going to ask. I advise that even when, in case you disagree with a fellow panelist, you disagree with politeness, and also you first recognize their submission and the validity of their submission, and then you adjust accordingly to your opinion or view. I am going to request to please put up your hands if you're on Twitter. On Twitter?
Sure.
Just X, yeah. Let the hands be up. Hands be up. Instagram, just join them. If you have an Instagram account, join them. If you have a TikTok account, join them. No, keep the hands up. Keep the hands up. Facebook, join them. WhatsApp, join them.
Sure.
The rest, you don't have WhatsApp.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much. She has just requested us that we create awareness. So I'm going to request in the next 30 seconds, we are going to keep quiet. We are not observing silence for anyone who has died. 30 to 40 seconds, I'm going to allow all of you to go on your WhatsApp statuses, to go on your Twitter, to go on your Facebook, to go on your Instagram and post this. Especially, I would want you to just post that there's an amnesty that ends on 28th what? Feb, if you have someone who is in India. So in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to allow you to do that. Either just take a photo of the people here, or get a photo you've found anywhere and just post. Just post. Just post now in the next 30 seconds. Thank you for being an obedient and cooperative activist and advocates. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start with our chief guest. But because the chief guest is posting, I am going to first skip him for now, and I'll start with my colleague, Ndugu Joseph Afande. Uganda's Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act 2009 is strong, a strong foundation in fighting this problem. But also, we have realized that the conviction rate in such cases is very, very, very low. What are the main enforcement challenges, and how can bilateral frameworks with India help us to address them? I'm sorry to start from there, but if you don't mind, share. What do you think? Because it doesn't matter what we discuss if the end game of the hand of the law does not implement. Yes, Afande. The microphone is on your left.
Yeah, thank you very much, our MC, Mr. Apuli. Thank you for the guidance that you have given us. I want to, first of all, recognize the protocol that has been set, and I want to thank everybody that has responded to this engagement today. In a special way, I also want to thank the organizer, and especially her name is a bit difficult, but Crystolite Sanamanda, for her initiative. I met her sometime, I think in the last 1 or 2 months when she visited me in the office. I want to thank her very much for this initiative. What we are deliberating on is a very serious crime that until maybe 2009, as the MC has alluded to, we did not have an enabling act or provision in the law that would help us to combat it. So the law came in 2009, and effective implementation also dragged on, because most of the stakeholders across the board, the investigators, the prosecutors, the judges, and even the bigger community had very little knowledge that there is a law to address the issue of human trafficking and people's smuggling. And since then, there's been a number of efforts across the board to ensure that people are trained, people are enlightened in seeing effective implementation of this act. Now, on the issue of prosecution at the local level, when you look at the criminal statistics that we have been compiling over the years, the number of people arrested, investigated, and taken to court, and eventual conviction and sentences, it is still very dismal compared to the number of cases registered. It is very, very, very small. Now, my role, as the MC has alluded to, I am coming from the investigation background. But right now, at the Directorate of Interpol and International Relations, which is another directorate within the Uganda Police Force, my role is supposed to coordinate the local law enforcement agencies and the international law enforcement agencies. What does this one mean? I'm limited to coordination. I don't do active investigation as I used to do in CID. In this respect, I coordinate directorate like criminal investigation, child protection unit within the Uganda Police, and others when they have issues that requires Uganda to coordinate with the international law enforcement agencies like India and others using the Interpol platform. Interpol as an organization, it is an affiliate that brings together 196 countries all over the world. All these countries are affiliated to Interpol, and the common thread that brings us together is law enforcement. And the laws that we enforce is about crimes that cuts across borders. One of those crimes are human trafficking, drug trafficking, counterterrorism, cyber crimes, money laundering, and others. As I mentioned earlier, some of these crimes are emerging, like the human trafficking and cyber crimes. These are the most recent crimes that has gained momentum, and compared to terrorism that we used to know by 2000, it has surpassed terrorism. In terms of the money involved, human trafficking and cyber are the most dominant crimes as of now. Now, using the Interpol tools and platform, it enables us to coordinate with all the other law enforcement agencies. We may not have had much engagement with India in addressing some of the common crimes that I've mentioned. Although we have had several cases with India, we have had communication between Kampala and India. We send them requests on people whom we want, on evidences that we want from India. Likewise, on their side, they have also sent requests to us to address people whom they want, to share evidence, and so on and so forth. So that's the advantage that we have. But through the Interpol platform, this coming month, we are going to have an annual general meeting in Marrakesh, in Morocco, North Africa. When we converge there, like we are meeting here, on the sideline of such meetings, we normally engage with our colleagues from all the different parts whom we have some issues to discuss. So I think one of the commitments that I want to share with you is that on the sideline of that meeting, we shall have issues like we are discussing, the concern from Uganda about Ugandans who are victims of trafficking in India and others. And it's not only about human trafficking. Some of the Ugandans that I know that have been incarcerated in India they are connected with drug trafficking. We have quite a number of them. So on the surface, you may think that it is human trafficking, but when the person is engaged on other crimes like drug trafficking or cyber crime. But one which comes out very prominently, apart from human trafficking, is drug trafficking between Uganda and India. And how does this one comes about? We have a number of our Ugandans, like what most of the presenters here have presented. There's a case of a Ugandan boy who has gone to India for professional football. When he reached there, as he was transiting from one airport to another, I don't know how they planted drugs on him. He has been arrested and incarcerated there. He's currently in prison. We have another lady who was transacting drugs from Uganda via Nairobi, Jomo Kenyatta Airport to India. When she came back, all her details were known. NCB Nairobi communicated to us with CID in Uganda. We arrested her, and she has been extradited to Nairobi to answer charges. So we communicate on the Interpol platform. The Interpol platform is one of the most secure communication tools that facilitate communication. There's confidence in it, and everything, I think, on that platform is what makes Interpol a strong international organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, AIGP. Has any one of you seen what Interpol is? If you know what Interpol does, please put up your hand. Like you're sure you know what Interpol does. Okay, in films. So maybe before I go to Ambassador, I would just want to just take us through what's the difference between Interpol and the Uganda police, and how do they correlate?
Thank you very much, MC. Interpol is a directorate within the Uganda Police Force. It is one of the arms of Uganda Police Force. Uganda Police Force, as you know, is a constitutional body under the Constitution of Uganda, Article 211 and 212. It is a law enforcement agency. It enforces all the laws of Uganda. It is mandated with detection of crime, prevention of crimes. Yeah, those are the major roles. It is a police institution, and the specific function of Interpol is to coordinate Uganda police with other foreign police bodies. We coordinate with the Kenya Police, National Police of Kenya. We coordinate with Rwanda National Police, Ethiopian Federal Police, all the 196 police organizations of all over the world. We coordinate with them. If there is a case, for example, criminal investigation in Uganda is investigating, for example, a cyber crime or a case of a victim who has been trafficked from Uganda to India, CID will do the investigation. They will open up a case file, record statement from witnesses, arrest the suspect. But if there is one key suspect who has run, maybe is in India, or there is a victim in India, they can coordinate with us. They will send that request to India to coordinate with India, so that we write to India through this Interpol platform, which is known as the I-247. When we communicate to India, India has a national central bureau. For me, as a director of Interpol, I'm in charge of the National Central Bureau, which is the Interpol office for Uganda. Each of the 196 countries all over the world has what they call the National Central Bureau. The National Central Bureau of Nairobi, Kenya, South Sudan, and so forth. This is the link where all these other police organizations all over the world coordinate. Now, Interpol, beside that one, has affiliation with other international world bodies. For example, the World Customs Union, the World Trade Organization, the one dealing with the international telecommunication, the one dealing with the IOM, migration, all those in one way or the other. Like I'm here representing Interpol and Uganda Police. I'm part of this engagement. So Interpol, likewise, as an international body, has affiliate with all those other international bodies for purposes of combating, fighting international cross-border crimes that I singled out, like human trafficking, drug trafficking, terrorism, cybercrime, financial crimes, and others.
Okay.
That is our role.
Thank you very much, Afande. Let's give him a round of applause. And I guess part of the international crimes, we have anti-human trafficking, or trafficking in person as a crime. When he was submitting, Ambassador, Your Excellency, I realized that everything that he said comes back to law, to policy. And in our country, it is the ministries that are responsible for that, at least drafting and forwarding to Parliament. So I just want to ask, Uganda's mission abroad has often encountered stranded and also trafficked citizens. What steps is the ministry taking or has been taking to make safe contact points for victims, especially in India, but at the same time to craft policies that are actionable? Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mr. Puli. Yes, it is true that as Foreign Affairs, you have a responsibility to ensure the safety of all Ugandans. Safety, rights, and whether you went there legitimately or otherwise, whoever is out there, it's our duty to ensure that their protection is ensured. Now, when it comes to Ugandans who are distressed, Ugandans in distress, many of these are runaway girls running away because they were taken without knowing where they were going, only to be surprised that they are supposed to be involved in businesses which were not their intention, mainly prostitution. So Uganda's missions abroad have been at the forefront of opening doors to any Ugandan who finds themselves in that crisis. So unfortunately, many times some of these trafficked girls are not aware of where our missions are. So we have been encouraging through snowballing, because some of these people don't know, but they go sharing information. And eventually, these people are led to us. Within the UAE or the GCC countries, we have now enhanced our collaboration with other partner states, Kenya, Ethiopia, such that whoever lands on one of our own treats them as their citizen and addresses their plight as they wait for the rescue from our missions. Because you find that our representation is dispersed. It's not in every country. We might be in Qatar, but are not in Bahrain. We are not in Jordan. So you have one mission representing some countries. So what we do is to encourage our partner states to go and attend to our own, as we also, the mission in charge of that area comes to the rescue. We have also diaspora communities. We have recognized diaspora communities to make sure that they intervene as the first line of intervention when a Ugandan is on the run or is running away from trouble. The diaspora always comes in to attend to such cases, and then they call on us. Now, when it comes to India, there has been that uniqueness. We are saying we have a unique diaspora in India because you have two major categories, the traffickers and the trafficked. And what we have done in that context, we have said, as long as you are Ugandan, provided you are Ugandan and wait to know that you have issues, we first have to receive you. Now, for the traffickers, we are trying to talk to them to see how they can help us. First of all, get out of that trade, but also get to know where our Ugandans are. So in my recent visit there, we managed to get the so-called diaspora leaders. But on the second check, they were actually the traffickers. And if you threaten them, they will disappear, and you'll be denied the information. So, and we want to thank our colleagues, Red Rope, who have managed to get hold of them. And they are now being used to help our people to come out. So our missions, the doors of our missions are open. On another note, we want to start now organizing our honorary consuls. Within India, we have 3 honorary consuls who have not been coordinated well. So during our last visit to the mission, we urged the mission to get hold of these honorary consuls in Bombay, I think in Calcutta, and in Mumbai, such that these also constitute another first line within those, because India is a vast country that you can't sit in Delhi and claim to be in charge, because it's a mini continent. It's a mini continent. So when these honorary consuls get publicized and the Ugandans get to know that they can run to this, that could be also another good entry point to mobilize and to rescue our Ugandans in distress. Those are the interventions so far.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause to the ambassador. That was insightful. Seemingly, to some of us who may not know, actually government is doing its best. Maybe there are areas of improvement, but it's doing its best. And we can tell even from the absent Indian government, from your submissions, we could tell that they're also doing their best to cooperate. But now that takes me to Dr. Annette. Civil society shall always be the bridge between, will be responsible for bridging the gap between government action and, in this case, survivor realities or culprits and victims anyway. I wanted to ask you, what models of collaboration have proven most effective in repatriation and reintegration? Because police is doing its job. Ministry is trying to do its job. How and what is best for civil society to do? Please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I think it's not so much for civil society to do, because I think your question is talking about civil society, government, the nexus of survivor realities and effective models. Definitely the low-hanging fruit for effective models has to do with the multi-agency approach. We are cognizant of the fact that no one entity can tackle trafficking in persons. No one entity is as resourced as they would like to be. Government is limited, civil society is limited, and the survivor realities are the way they are. So I think a multi-agency, multi-sector approach is quite critical, and even outside government, private sector, which hasn't been mentioned, because I think private sector, they are creators of solutions, but also they could be violators of human rights. So we all can work together in a multi-sector approach. The other one is a survivor-centered model, really approach. And the survivor-centered model has to put in consideration the unique needs. Just like a survivor shared, there's no one-size-fits-all for survivors. Let's say we're talking about survivors coming out of India. Each one of them will be assessed and they'll have unique needs. So for successful repatriation and integration, you must put into consideration the unique needs. Then we have what we call a principle of survivor-informed approach. And survivor-informed really is, we draw from their experience and their participation and their voice. Like today we had a bit of that. And the other one I want to talk about that's critical for all of us, even as we operate in a multi-sector approach, is a trauma-informed approach. And the focus of the trauma-informed approach is to communicate care, is to prioritize safety, and to really ensure that we don't re-traumatize. So even as we work together to ensure successful repatriation and reintegration, we must ensure that there is care, and we must ensure that there is safety, both physical, emotional, psychological, to the extent we can explain safety. And then we must ensure that whatever we are doing is not re-traumatizing, is not re-victimizing. That's the trauma-informed approach. And then on top of that, we have the whole evidence-based approach. Evidence-based for all the entities that are collaborating, whether it's civil society, it's government, it's the survivor themselves. There's so much information there that drops through the cracks. And we can't put the data together to provide good intervention. So the evidence-based is very important because it informs intelligence, it informs intervention, it informs practice. The other one is the rights-based approach. We all know that survivors have to be, their rights have to be restored, but there are also rights and obligations. So also survivors have obligations. But all of us, government has obligations, civil society has obligations, and everyone involved in this has obligation. The other one is accessibility of services. And accessibility in its vast meaning is, do we actually have room for survivors with disabilities, survivors with children? Accessibility is not just nearness of survivors, but how, like how His Excellency has said, the honorary consulars, do the girls know about that? In that way, you might be affecting accessibility of services. So to strengthen collaboration to repatriate and reintegrate successfully, we must ensure that accessibility of services and holistic care, unconditional support. I think unconditional support is really important for Uganda and India. I liked what Amanda submitted earlier about our legal frameworks. We have varying legal frameworks. We have a different understanding of trafficking in persons and how screening and vetting of victims and survivors of trafficking is happening. That affects whether they'll be penalized or not. So in some countries, you'll find that our law has first moved that we don't penalize victims of trafficking or survivors, but even if another jurisdiction is still penalizing them, then we need to improve that if we are going to have successful repatriation. For most people, you've already heard that, for instance, the overstay, the penalty, is higher than the ticket. So it's very difficult to find people who are going to buy you a ticket and also pay the fines. So those kind of things make services inaccessible, or they become conditional. And for us to have effective collaboration, we must synchronize, harmonize our legal frameworks and think about unconditional support. The other one is timeliness. Trafficking responses are not for people who have to, the bureaucracy of government and other entities, that where you put in, let's say, a survivor from India, because when they do their exits, we have very little time between an exit permit being issued and the survivor exiting. If you're going to process payments through 2 officers that are out of the country for a month, the exit permit won't wait for you. So strengthening collaboration for repatriation and reintegration means every entity has to think about timeliness of intervention. We can't be dragging, because what happens when the exit permit expires? Do we go back into the system and do that? So really, there are principles that govern practice, and out of those principles, I think each entity, civil society, government, can have best practice out of those principles.
Thank you very much, Doctor. A round of applause to Doctor. And please make sure you do not pray for us. Praying for us means you bend your head, you bow your head, you close your eyes, and act like you're praying. So don't pray for us. Now, there's something from what His Excellency talked about and what you brought in, the multi-sectoral or multi-agency approach. There's something that clicked. So before I come to Joanita, I want to ask Ambassador, maybe if in 1 minute, and maybe a funder might also come in. From the different other organizations that intervene, that use resources like money and human resource, having a background that you said that some of these guys who seemingly are the stakeholders are actually the culprits. And I've heard many stories where people, these people who are participating in advocacy, feel like even they themselves may not be as safe, because the cartels that run these things are placed and strategically placed. Today they can play victims, tomorrow they play culprits, the other day they are the ones you're engaging until you realize that they are culprits. What can we do about that, or what can government do about that? And how can you safeguard these civil servants who are just trying to do their job?
Thank you very much. It's an interesting story, because as you said and as I mentioned in my keynote, the issue of human trafficking is a lucrative business, and sometimes it can even be dangerous to the person who is fighting it. But as government, when we talked of interagency collaboration, the whole thing is about how do we tighten our exit points as a country so that we starve. We can only do what is within our confines to do. And that is, can we starve the traffickers of the people to traffic? And the best way is to make sure at the exit points we have done our part. But most importantly, sensitization. Sensitizing the publics about the approaches, the way now people are being trafficked. Hearing from the victim who has just testified here that you are being told you are going to UK, only to end up in India. We have cases where people are being told they are going to UK and they have ended up in Myanmar. Up to now, up to today, we rescued about 70 recently, but now I have new cases, new entrants into Myanmar and Cambodia. So now, unless we sensitize our people here to know the red flags, if someone tells you this, be careful. They might be. Don't, if anyone says it is confidential, don't share this information. No, you know, that is a red flag. What are the signs of a trafficker when they are communicating? So internally, we must go on an aggressive campaign to sensitize our Ugandans, especially the rural people. Now they know that the urbanites are a little bit awake. They go deep. Our recent statistics show that the majority of the victims in UAE now, to UAE, come from Western Uganda. In the rural Western Uganda. Now, these guys, they have never even been to Kampala. So they reach Kampala, they get mesmerized. They reach the airport, it is all rosy. And now they said, now, what if Uganda is looking like this? What about there where I'm going? So now, they are really put in a situation which believes that heaven is about to happen, and so we need to sensitize our communities.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ambassador. I'm going to come back to you, and I'm going to give you a question in advance. Somehow I'm going off script to make sure we get the best. I don't know, for those who are in the audience, do you agree with me that whereas we are looking at the exit points, somehow we may have been a little bit, I don't know, from your opinion, there's the starting point. Most of these victims start from the villages, and LC1s recommend and are part of it. Are there ways we can put regulations and policies that can put these LC1s in check? Because somehow government up here relies on the LC1s. The LC1s, I don't know what happens. But before we come back to that question, I want to go to the survivor. Joanita, all of us have imaginations. You have the real deal experience. So from your experience, what is your take when it comes to how the gaps that could exist between how survivors are treated upon return and how they are reinstated in societies, psychologically, socially, economically? How easy is it? Because now we are looking at the before. What happens after Interpol intervenes? The person has been brought, you've been brought. Please share with us.
Thank you so much, moderator. All protocol observed. I'm honored to speak as a survivor and advocate against human trafficking. And I'll go straight to the point. First of all, there is a lot of stigma. When my sister was giving her testimony, she talked about her experience in India, and she broke down when she was talking about her experience after coming back home. It is very unfortunate that we go through a lot in receiving countries, and then we go through the worst when we come back home. Victimization of survivors is on a very high rate, and it increases our trauma up to, I don't know which percentage. And that is one of our strongest breaking points. You come back home expecting to be understood, to be welcomed, to be loved, and there is no love. That's why some people decide to remain behind, because the trauma back home is too much. Some of the survivors who come back, even if by the time they were trafficked, they were professionals, when they come back here, that survivor mode that they put us some people even refuse to give you employment. It doesn't matter how qualified you are. They just see you as a survivor. I went through this, and that is one of the things that pushed me to go to the front line to advocate for survivors. Because there was a time that I wanted to just die from the trauma I went through and the hardships I went through. Home was not home, because home was even worse than my trafficker. So we really need to work upon ourselves as a society. Let me talk about we people who have been, let me use the common word, kadama. And then those who were trafficked and put under sexual exploitation. We suffer with victimization. Someone will just say, or you're just kadama, taina magezi. And they say it so lightly, freely, and, you know, that's all they see in you, nothing much. That trauma actually surpasses everything. I will talk about so many things, including sidelining or not, you know, supporting survivor advocates. It is pushing ourselves and pushing ourselves and pushing ourselves. But we need everyone, because we need survivors at the front line of the fight against trafficking. These people might not have gone to school to study trafficking, but they are experts in a way, because they have the first-hand information. We need to create and empower survivor advocates. This is actually forcing so many survivors to go back to school, which is on a positive note, to go back to school, to really come to this space with information that is beyond the first-hand information. Okay. And this is where the Global Migrant Workers Network came from. It involves mostly Africans and Asians. We came together as migrant workers and survivors of trafficking to speak for ourselves, because we have voices. We are here, we exist. We are not invisible. Okay. We are visible. We have voices, and our voices need to be heard. There is criminalization of survivors. People come back here to this country of ours and seek for justice. But instead, many survivors have been criminalized, and instead of putting the charges on the trafficker, the charges turn around to the survivor. This has led many survivors to decide to keep quiet about their ordeal, because most of them say they are going to victimize me, they are going to see me as a criminal, so I better keep quiet, which really brings gaps in the fight against trafficking. This just gives energy to the traffickers, knowing that they cannot do a lot to them. Handling emergencies. Please, CSOs, survivor cases are emergencies. Survivor cases are emergencies. Doctor talked about it. Some organizations have a long protocol to receiving help or assistance. Let us shorten our process. Sometimes we need to first save life before we assess whether this person is really a survivor or not. Because we have lost many because of that long process, that long procedure. I have to call this and that, I have to assess, I have to do this. Let us come together and shorten our process. We have another problem. Officers of the law, many of them plus the medical personnel, they don't have a lot of information about, they are not trauma informed, they are not trafficking in persons informed, if that statement exists. They are not informed at all. You go to the hospital and you have to explain and explain and explain, and sometimes the doctor will tell you, you are wasting your time, this person is going to die. Yes, we experienced that one time. We were handling a case of a survivor, a very emergency case, and a doctor told us, you are wasting your time, this person is going to die. But thank God, this person is alive today and
Amen.
healthy. So if we get at least those avenues where we can train medical officers and police officers, government officials, how to handle survivors or victims of trafficking, I think it would do us very good as survivors.
Amazing. Now, on that point, to start with, the audience, please look here. Everyone, look here. And I want you to look at her. Look at her. Everyone look at her. She has just told you, we exist. We are not invisible. So they exist. They are not what? Invisible. Let's commit to join the hand. Maybe at the point where you were, from this experience that you've had, I want to, before I come this side, so that they answer that, what would you want, what would you suggest that in practice, whether government, you've talked much about civil society, what they can do to be responsive and so on. Which policies or practices do you think government should consider putting in action that maybe they haven't or they are not effectively doing? Please.
First of all, government, you have a mandate to protect survivors and victims of human trafficking, not to criminalize them. Government, you have the power to criminalize traffickers. But traffickers are so much protected than the victims. And that is very sad. And all of us in this room know that there are traffickers who are so much protected by both government and the CSOs. And I beg that even if someone is your friend, if they are traffickers, they are traffickers. It doesn't matter whether the company is registered or not registered, they are traffickers. We have companies here in Uganda which are registered, taking Ugandans in Syria, taking Ugandans in Jordan. We don't have bilateral agreements with Jordan, but these companies advertise openly that they have jobs in Syria, they have jobs in Jordan, and no one is doing anything about it. And when you talk about it or talk to this person, they will tell you, what will you do? And then when you do something, go to government, they will tell you, this company is registered. Where do we go?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think at that point, for everyone that, please do that. Thank you. You learned well. So, I'm going to come to Afande. Starting point. Isn't there else one person a criminal for conspiracy or what is the other word? Other than conspiracy? Aiding and abetting or promoting. That is one. Number two, from her submission, the good thing from your background and profile, you also have investigation in anti-corruption. Seeming she's suggesting there are officials within our system that are corrupt. So I just want you to mention, address that point of the starting points. As I come to the ambassador will help us address reintegration. India has said there's amnesty. Now when we receive Uganda, have we put up some project to reintegrate? Afande.
Thank you very much, moderator. Maybe I start off from the issue of LC1 abating conspiracies and so on. One thing we need to understand is that human trafficking, as we are looking at it here, it is a form of organized crime. Organized crime in the sense that the actors involved, the people behind the perpetrator, are well organized with a lot of skills, a lot of resources at their disposal. That's one. Then also, they are not operating only in Uganda. They are operating within a well-established structure. You may find that the boss is not even here in Uganda. He may be sitting somewhere in a neutral country, maybe in France or in England, where you listly suspect that is behind all this other form of crime. So here in Uganda, you will have an agent. And knowing the complication of this crime and the likelihood of being detected and arrested, they have mechanism of ensuring that they are not easily detected, they are not arrested, and they are not found. And so, using that one, some of the agents penetrate some of all these other government institutions that are involved in combating the same. May have somebody maybe at the police station that when we have this case, turn a blind eye. You go to the airport where these people are supposed to exit the country, there are some agent there. From some of the experience we have, that there are some counters that when these people go, they just go and walk undetected. There are instances, for example, in the case of drug trafficking, even this human trafficking, you find somebody has left Entebbe here, only to reach Kigali is intercepted with drugs, and yet we have all these apparatus on the ground for detection. So this is how organized criminals operate. There's a lot of money involved. They are very meticulous in the way they process their activities. So it becomes a little bit tricky, and like in the previous discussion when she mentioned about requiring multi-sectoral approach, there's a lot of threats even involved on the actors. There's blackmails involved. For example, if you are a police officer investigating this case, you may be turned around that you are the one who is more corrupt than the actual perpetrator. Somebody manning the immigration checkpoint at the airport, they will turn around that that one is the most corrupt person, should be removed. That officer will be removed, and leaving avenues for these people to move in and out at ease. And who are the people behind some of this? They are well placed also in society. For example, here in Uganda, how many companies do we have that are involved in exporting this migrant labor? I think there are more than 200 companies. And what are the mechanisms in place to regulate the movement of these migrant workers? Like all what we know, following yesterday's discussion, who are these people who are trafficked? As of late, the level of education, for example, they come to Interpol for certificate of good conduct. When you look at them and you interview some of the people who are going, they are people with the lowest level of education, P7, P6, and so on. And yet where they are going to man some of the most sophisticated equipment, like a laundering machine, washing machine, which are not in the village. And how long are they trained on some of this equipment? That's a problem.
Okay.
And when you talk of the LOCs, how well informed are some of our LOCs in the villages? Some of them, like I know, most of these girls are recruited in the villages, including some of the security guards. What will the LOC demand, including these one who are perpetuating land conflict in Uganda? You tip them with some little man and everything moves smoothly. It is only at the last stage that you will realize that there is a problem. So, like what most of the panelists have alluded to, we need some element of sensitization. And I think it should be deeper sensitization, right from the lowest level. For example, here in Uganda, we are having internal trafficking. And one of the regions that has been identified is Karamoja region. There has been a lot of sensitization in Karamoja. And to some extent, I think there has been some successes in stemming the flow of migrants. But again, because of the challenges, the vulnerability that the victims have. People lack food, people lack employment, people lack so many needs. It forces some of these people that, no, let my daughter go and do this thing, as long as he or she can send me something to survive.
Okay.
Those are the complication. And of course, the problem of corruption, generally. It is a big problem in Uganda. And I don't think it is one institution. It cuts across the board. I will be a saint to say that maybe in police it is not there. It is there. You read all these things. So maybe one of the things is strengthening mechanism to address the issues of corruption.
Okay.
Maybe it will help us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause. I am going to come to Ambassador, and then later I'm going to go to Doctor. And Doctor, I want you to think of what would you recommend can be done in terms of policy, or should be as recommendations from here between players and other players and government. What is your thought? Especially from the perspective of helping the victim. I'm going to come to you, Ambassador. The LC ones. I want to insist on the LC ones here. Because where the problem comes from is where we are taking back these people. So the very parents that sent them, the very LC1 chairpersons that recommended they go, when they return is where we send them back. So from that point, what can government do to reintegrate, but also to prevent?
Yeah, thank you, Moderator. I think we also need to understand that when it comes to trafficking, many times there's a lot of deception. There's a lot of deception that with someone who went through an externalizing company, it is easier to track that person. But many times, these people are not, the records to tracking them is not easy. Actually, this LC man may never even see that one because they say this one is confidential. It's a rare what? Opportunity. If you tell anyone, it is at your peril. The opportunity is lost. Then they say, we shall move you through the border of Kenya. And I have my own former domestic assistant in my house who survived that Interpol rescued the situation when they were exiting the Kenyan border. 46 girls. No documentation. So many times the worst category are those that are just told to treat the matter confidential, and the network, as you said, even at the airport where you are expected to question, to ask a number of things, the connivance is with a certain counter. Go to counter number 8, the password is Chiguli. Now, they don't ask more paperwork. Stamp, poop, pass. And then when you go in the plane, some of you have been lucky, you hear them celebrating. Ha! Abadambuza. Uganda. Now, they are celebrating because they managed to beat the immigration, and they are now in flight. So now the whole thing, it is deceptive, the whole process. So many times we are blaming the OCs, but they've not appended their signature. Where it is streamlined, it is easy even to blacklist an externalizing company. Also to demand that they follow and return these people. But without documentation, it becomes very difficult. You may be aware that as Minister of Foreign Affairs, we have also tightened, because many people would also slip through our visa notes. Someone brings, or they forge a note of above to the embassies. Now what we have done is to make everything online, that you cannot go through unless you've come through a ministry, agency, and the PS himself has endorsed, confirming that you are on his payroll. So it is very difficult now to even use our note of above to be externalized. Now the issue is the issue of sensitization.
Ambassador, as you continue, maybe first explain to us what externalizing is.
Of course, through means of gender, there are firms or companies that have been licensed to externalize labor.
Okay.
And now the issue is, as you externalize, you must demonstrate that you have a company, the other side, which receives the workers you are taking. Now, the case of India is not the case. It is just deceptive. We don't externalize to India. We have no companies. But where a company is legitimately registered here, then we can always pin them. For example, you have cases where they take our Ugandans for a particular job. Then you reach there, they say, no, that job is not here. It was taken. But there is this other one. Now, the worker can raise that complaint, or we put to task the receiving company, and then the mission in the host country can always come in to rescue a situation. But where you go behind the company, we have a problem.
Reintegration.
Yeah. Reintegration, of course, these are initiatives which we are now trying to think about. Working with the IOM, we are talking of pre-return orientation. The survivor here talked about preparing us. When we are returning, this worker or this Ugandan is at loss. I've not been at home. I sold even the little property in order to buy a ticket to come this side. Now, where am I going to start? So we are working with the organizations like IOM. It's coming up with an arrangement of skilling. Skilling the returnees such that they get new skills to survive in the new environment. Of course, means of gender is central in this, and I want to encourage that going forward, such fora should always have means of gender, because they are gender responsible for social development of our country. And the only way is to make sure that we have mechanisms for some minimal capital, some skills of their preference, and then follow up.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to the ambassador. Before I go to Doctor, are you guys watching a movie that I'm watching? You're not watching the movie I'm watching. I'm watching a detective movie, and the detective is lost. But before we go to Doctor, when I say something, I want you to say fight. Something? Something? With more power. Something? So every other word I'm going to say, just say fight. Not so? Something? Something? Human trafficking? Uganda? India? With more power. India? Salvation Army? Red Pop? Police? Ladies and gentlemen, Doctor, what should we do?
What should we do? Fight. Some of the things we need to do, there are many systemic things. Cut the budget for the action office is reducing. Then they need to append a signature so that the LC pocket has funds. So some of the things we're talking about are not even directly impacting trafficking, but they impact human life in Uganda, which eventually makes us more vulnerable. For instance, Uganda brought a very nice policy of externalizing as a gap because we had unemployment. Who has gone back to prepare us to exit externalization? Who is planning long term? Migration is a right, but we thought that externalization was a gap for us to rethink and say, okay, how do we employ our people? How do we make it attractive to employ people back home? There are very many systemic wide things. We can sit here and give kind of fruit responses, but they are root cause issues that we must deal with in our communities. If we think about ourselves 20 years from today, will we have gone back? The National Planning Authority, will they have gone back? Can we put our leaders to account to give us the number of jobs created in a month, in a year, to see that, yes, we can externalize, but we are doing something back home. We are going to become middle income. We are going to become all those things. But what does that mean for me in English as a Ugandan that I will work here comfortably so that I'm not, taken into slavery. Okay. When we go to the people who negotiate, the bilaterals, do they really negotiate for us, or we negotiate as paupers? Oh, you see, we are so unemployed, please take our people. Are we negotiating like we are Ugandans, and the greatest asset Uganda has is human resource? And so when we externalize our 20 to 30-year-old people, what will happen in 20 years from today? I'm not against externalization, don't get me wrong, but these are some of the thought processes. Without forgetting domestic trafficking, what perpetuates domestic trafficking? Are we going back to do the think tanks, and then a think tanks producing things? We have a national action plan. Is it resourced? No. We have an awareness strategy for trafficking in persons. Is it resourced? We have SOPs for investigating and prosecuting trafficking. Is it resourced? No. We have everything we need for now, even as we improve. Don't get me wrong. Don't say, Annette said we have everything. No, we can improve. But even for what we have, how many of you followed this year's budget? Did you follow to see how much Internal Affairs received for the counter-trafficking docket, or Minister of Foreign Affairs for their consular services to be able to at least accommodate this vice, or Interpol? How much did they receive in terms of the human resource that can monitor, like Minister of Gender, the people who can monitor our people wherever they are, the district? Because we get children, let's say in Kampala, and you repatriate them back to Karamoja. How many of you know it's the same statistic that returns? So where is the mechanism? We have the mechanism, but there is no enforcement. So corruption, okay. What are we going to do about corruption? When we know the brothel, the big one in Natete that everybody is talking about, and nobody has closed it, and the rest of us are all terrified, because when you pick somebody from there, you'll get a call, orders from above, return that person from where you picked them from. Eish. I'll pause there.
Are you watching the movie I'm watching? Are you watching the movie I'm watching? We are in now episode 6. Episode 6. Before I come back to government, maybe in just 30 seconds, data sharing and information sharing, how can it be done effectively without having any problem with privacy issues, but at the same time, without putting the people who are sharing the data at risk? Anything?
I think the data sharing between Uganda and India would need synchronizing of legal frameworks and policies. You can't share data unless you have governing ethical guidelines to share that data. So we need some SOPs on that data sharing at that level. There are already best practices of data sharing. We have privacy protection. Uganda has certain things. So what does India have? Can the players come at the table and synchronize and find standard operating procedures for us to ensure that we are sharing? And we have trauma-informed systems and trauma-informed ways of sharing this data. And there's data protection. Are we investing in promoting infrastructure that, like the Interpol system, is secure? Are we investing in that infrastructure that will make data shared, whether it's victim data, whether it's intelligence data, between India and Uganda? Okay. So I think we need to sit there, develop the systems, develop the SOPs, the guidelines, and then we can informally share. But if we are serious about, remember we have cyber crime as well, so if we are serious about sharing data, we must develop some guidelines between Uganda and India and look at their legal framework and look at our legal framework and then guide the ethical standards, we'll say.
Thank you very much. As we are drawing to the close and coming to government, there's an IGP that put in practice the principle of set a thief to catch a thief. when Ambassador was speaking, Ambassador at a certain point alluded that these guys, they thought they were collaborating with, realized they are the victim, they are culprits, but at the same time, if you want to go after them, they won't collaborate. So somehow you have to use them. How can also the victims be used? In this case, they are not the thieves. In this case, they are who's the victim of theft? How do we call the victim of theft? Okay, the complainant. In this case, how do you use a complainant to help catch a thief? How do we use the survivor to help us in ministries, maybe in policies, to help us in police? Because you even mentioned that police doesn't know. The officers don't know. The medicals don't know. So how do we integrate? Should we employ survivors as we create a survivor officer in Ministry of Foreign Affairs? What would you suggest?
Thank you so much.
In 1.5 minutes.
Okay. Before I do that, I would like to thank Dr. Annette. Thank you so much. You have spoken my mind. Like I said, we have survivor advocates. Not that every survivor wants to be in the background. Let us get this straight. Let us respect the survivors who want to support from the background. But we have survivors on the forefront. These people need to be involved in policy making, drafting of bilateral agreements, and migrant worker laws, anti-trafficking laws. Not all of them are literate, but they are literates. I have a diploma in law, I'm a survivor, and that does not take away my literacy just because I'm a survivor. I can contribute something in policy making. I can bring, even if it's not as eloquent as someone who has all the knowledge in policy, my idea.
As Dr. Annette.
Yes, and I'm a talented person. I can bring my idea on table and it can yield something. So involve survivors in policy making. Bring them to the table. Involve them in investigation. When they come to report, give them protection, especially those who don't want to be seen. But people like me who want to be seen, after people telling me, I will kill you if you don't stop talking about this. We shall not stop talking, because we have the information that the world needs to know, and we are here to stay. You will eliminate Joan, another Joan is going to germinate tomorrow, and she might not be as polite as I am to sit on the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Joan. I am coming to police. You hear the views. Now I want you to conclude in 1.5 minutes. What do you think? Because now it's as if we are coming to but what do you think? One, you can tell us where you're stuck and where you want these people to help support, maybe advocate, maybe they are pointing guns where they should not be pointing. Which guns should be pointed where and when? Afande.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of the things that maybe police from the survivors' point of view, how does police handle some of these cases? In most cases, like she was saying, very few survivors on their own would come to the police to report. What is happening with cases of human trafficking? What we do is when some of these victims have been repatriated, the initiative we have taken is to pick on them from the airport with some of the partners that are here from the civil society organization. Because of the concern that the environment at the police station sometimes exposes them to extra stigma. So when we pick them from the airport and maybe taken to shelters, because we don't have appropriate shelters where some of these victims should be kept at the police station, we use the facilities at the shelters run by some of the civil society organization here. We interview them. The medical examination is taken from there so that they are not stigmatized again. So that's one of the mechanisms we have taken. But of course, you also know some of the challenges we face in the judicial processes, like you have recorded the statement, you have examined the victims, you have got maybe statement from others and the like. Some of these cases, much as you may want to take them to court within 48 hours, it may not be possible. Sometimes even when the trial begins, the court procedure, you take the victim, the suspect to court today where you have made the arrest. The court will adjourn, come back after 14 days. And there are some limitations, let us admit. I don't know how many, for how long some of these victims have been kept in a shelter. There are those restrictions. Sometimes it may not be for more than 1 month, and yet the court would not have concluded the trial of that case within that limited period. So that one also causes a challenge, especially to concluding such cases. And then in the area of training some of our investigators, this has been going on. We have been training our investigators in the methods of handling victims of trafficking and sexual-related crimes. When we started, like I was saying, when this act came in around 2009, we have had collaboration with Kenya, because this is where some of the victims would be rescued from. What would happen is that when Ugandan victims were arrested in Kenya, they would be criminalized for illegal entry into Kenya. But eventually, because of this kind of engagement, when we sat together like we are seated today, they came to that realization that no, these are victims of trafficking. We need not prosecute them for illegal entry into Kenya. And as a result of that, a good number of our victims from Uganda, wherever they are rescued from Kenya, they are brought back.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Give a round of applause to our Funday. We are concluding. I am going to bring in the ambassador to just tell us, do we have consultative meetings with survivors? What can we do as from government perspective? But I will also give like 5 minutes, because I was supposed to use 1 hour and 30 minutes. I've used exactly 1 hour and 30 minutes, so I am begging for 10 more minutes. So I am going to give part of those 10 minutes, 2.5 minutes to ambassador. Then I will give 2 minutes to people asking, and then I'll come back to the panel in 5 minutes, and we shall conclude. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, moderator. And I want to thank Dr. Nate and Joan. These ideas that are coming on table are worth our adoption. In the room, I came with the 2 colleagues. My colleague, Mr. Riabaha Evans, Minister Councillor. In our language, the Minister Councillor is the Deputy Ambassador. And Madam Susan Okodi, who is the Deputy Ambassador. She's a councillor. So we come from the same department, and in the spirit of succession planning, Doris was concerned that today you have one face, the other day you have another. But now, for continuity of this discussion, even if Ambassador Chiguli left, my colleague will surely be able to stand in the gap.
Amazing. Maybe as you submit, I want to inform you that we have, you had said we invite someone from Ministry of Gender.
Yes.
There's someone from Ministry of Gender. I don't know whether she's still around, a senior labor officer, Rita. Rita, when we go to the audience speaking, I'll give you a minute to either correct or add something that we have mentioned here.
Yeah.
Ambassador may continue.
It's good now to learn also that there is Rita in relation to matters of bilateral engagements. So involving the people who are affected by this challenge, or who are survivors, comes in handy as we sign the bilateral labor agreements. Because now, Ministry of Gender is involved or is embarking on a string of labor agreements. And therefore, we need to know that we have a critical mass of survivors from whom we can pick good lessons that can be incorporated in the agreements that are coming on board. Of course, the other thing is a move away from the category, as far as the categories of externalization are concerned. We have had dominantly domestic workers. And that category, that's why you have P7 or below P7 people being trafficked. And we are saying, can we now refocus our bilaterals to look at professional externalization, because those ones can stand for their rights, they can find a fit when they are stuck, But these innocent Ugandans, unless we do something before they externalized, we have a problem. So my colleague here, the AIGP, talked about police. We have environmental police, we have various categories. We may need to have a special group, a critical mass of police officers trained to deal with this matter, because they complained about the issue of criminalizing the survivor and freeing the trafficker. So unless we appreciate the predicament through which our people, or the ordeal through which these people go through, we need that officers, like you have family police, where you have at each police station you have one responsible for family matters. Do we have, or can we multi-skill these officers to be ready to receive these victims of trafficking and handle them in a manner that is appropriate, instead of subjecting them to a second level of trauma? That's my take.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to Ambassador. Now, I am coming to the audience. When I give you a microphone, 1 minute. Your name, your question. Should I require context? I will ask. So don't give me context unless I ask. Sorry, but I'm requesting. And then, for the panelists, I'm going to come back to you after they ask questions. Please, I'm going to, when they ask questions, after you answer your questions, you will conclude. And part of the things I want you to help me conclude about, from our discussion, it looks like we have a challenge of, one, resourcing. We have good laws and policies without resourcing. Do you have any recommendation? Do you have any recommendation on the challenge we have on corruption, the corruption that has now corrupted the system? Which system should be used to fight this same vice? Then is there any recommendation you have in 1 minute on awareness? Because it looks like for us, the civilians, our job, we need to be, what will save us is when we are aware, down to the village, and implementation of the policies available to make sure that people are integrated and there's no stigma. Anything. You'll be using 1 minute, and I have to conclude, and 1 minute to answer the question. So maximum, you actually have 2 minutes. So I'll go to the gentleman with his hand up first on the second table behind the table in front of me, where Lady Christo is. Yeah, Christo is.
Thank you, moderator. My name is Richard Obedi. I work with an organization called the Populist Foundation Uganda. We work on areas of migration, and we are also going to partner with the Salvation Army on human trafficking, especially in the northern part of the country. Yesterday's presentation was on internal displacement trigger factors.
Yes.
Yet also, South Sudan is actually used as an exit, and I think it came out in the ambassador's remarks that there should be need to tighten the exit.
Yes.
Now my question is to Commissioner AIGP, yes, especially this case of the boy who was arrested. Now this boy comes from Kitgum. I personally grew up in Kitgum. A member of parliament is involved, and the minister for international affairs, comes from Kitgum. Why can't police investigate this case? Because if you see the way the parents are suffering, just because nobody is helping them, and I think Joan brought it clearly, how big shots, people in position of leadership, cannot help a victim because in one way or the other, they are vulnerable based on certain parameters.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
and maybe the very last one. The Minister of Gender, thank you. Actually, I thought they were not here. There seems to be disconnect, and I think it came out in Amanda's presentation. The policies are there, and Doctor brought it clearly. The frameworks are there. The protocols, the standards are all there, but we are not doing the right thing. The Minister of Gender doesn't have, they're using Employment Act, I think, labor migration policy to regulate. That's why there seems to be disconnect, whether at the global level, at the continental level, at the regional level, and then at the national level.
Thank you very much. Remind me the name.
Richard Obedi.
Thank you, Richard. I'll take the lady with the hand up. The name, question addressed to, and then question. I'll ask for context if I need context.
Yes, this is Ali Zetam, Country Project Manager, Emerging Solutions Africa. Yes, we work within the borders and also during, in specific areas like the brothels, bus terminals. Madam Anne talked about there's a certain brothel in Natete. It's called the New Best. Now, this brothel, New Best in Natete, I stay within those areas. And it is something that is really of interest because at one time, police has always come to pick like the sex workers there. But at one time, they were picked. And within no minutes, the same police that picked them brought them back. And then they said, this is for, you can't do that because it belongs to a big shot. During COVID, when other bars were not working, actually New Best was working very, very well. Now, this brothel is just next to Natete Police. But the the police which come to pick them, they are not even from Natete Police. I understand they are from Chibuye or whatever, but they still, when they pick, the same police car brings them back. Now, at one time, I pretended as if I wanted just to, to just have some information. So they told me, every now and then, girls come in, and they are very beautiful, they are very young. About this, because since you know about it, New Best, it's just next to Natete Police. It's a nuisance, and it belongs to a big person. I don't know who the big person is. Maybe you begin from there.
That's a good disclaimer. You're safe now. Anyway, any other question? We have 2 questions here. We shall start with the lady and then the gentleman. Again, 1 minute. Your name, a question addressed to, no context unless I ask.
Mine is not a question. I just want to respond to this gentleman here. He talked about the policies being there, the protocols being there, but Ministry of Gender needs a labor migration policy. Just for the information of the people in the room, we have developed a national migration policy. It has been approved by Cabinet. We are starting the dissemination program. Now, the national migration policy covers aspects of diaspora, consular services, citizenship, anything related to migration. It's within this policy that we are going to look at a multi-sectoral approach. This multi-sectoral approach is going to look into issues, especially issues of human trafficking. Based on that policy is where we are getting what we should amend in the CAP 131, the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act.
Amazing.
On a global level, though, I want to speak with authority that with India specifically, we do not have any binding agreements, treaty, protocol in regard to what the subject matter is about. Thank you.
Thank you for the insight. Yes, the gentleman as well.
Thank you so much. Samonga Rogers from Make a Child Smile. My question is to the ambassador. The few embassies we've visited are very underfunded, and that's where we have distress. So they are the hotspots. What are you doing to help them with the distresses and the flux and the inbounds that come to them? What are you doing about it to fund them, help our Ugandans? Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I had one hand here from Mofa, and I think it will be the last question. We have 2 questions. Same table.
Thank you, moderator. An appreciation, an appeal, and a recommendation. My name is Ariaba Evans, Minister Councillor, Department of Consular Services, Minister of Foreign Affairs. 1, to appreciate the organizers for having this engagement. To request that more such engagements be organized so that we may continue sharing and improving.
If you are from Salvation Army and Red Drop, please put up your hand. Put up your hand, Salvation. I assume you've heard that request. Please continue.
Then 2, to appreciate our panelists, that the insights they have shared with us are very pertinent. For example, I listened to Dr. Annette with a lot of keenness. There is so much that she's giving us. Then 3, to appreciate the moderator for the job well done. Then 4, to request that the information we have shared here be publicized even more, so that more Ugandans and more nationals and more souls may get this information and it may help them. And then finally, to share their presentations with us so that we may internalize them for further use and further utilization. Thank
Amazing, amazing. If you commit that you're going to participate in spreading the word after today, please put up your hand. Salvation Army, find a way of how to share the information it's talking about publication and share it with everyone so that we fulfill the sharing everywhere. And then the last question. Yes. Before he answers, he thanked me. Please clap for me. Anyway, thank you.
I'm Irwin from the Salvation Army. I'm a consultant for return and reintegration to our international headquarters in London. And I look after the South Asia region zone. My question is addressed to the ambassador. I could have asked him when he was sitting next to me. It's a very simple question. When there is so much of unemployment in India, why is it so easy for people from Uganda to get visas and arrive in India? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we shall end with those questions, and I'm going to request Rita to first address any area you feel like you need to address as Minister of Gender, and then I'll start from the other end as we came. I'll start from Joan as we come to Nate Afande, and I'll conclude with Ambassador Rita.
Yes, I want to first appreciate my sister. She has already addressed the issue, but we also have the regulations that we use to support in the migration process, which is the employment, recruitment of Uganda migrant workers regulations. It's the regulations that we use. So it's not like we don't have any legal framework. We do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be giving license to the recruitment agencies, wouldn't be putting labor attaches in those destination countries, and we are trying to also sign the bilaterals with these other destination countries so that we have the binding effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will request that the panelists use the microphone. I'll start from Joan. I don't think there's any question addressed to you, but what is your last points in 1 and 20 seconds?
Thank you so much. I have just a few that I noted down. We have good laws, but they are not working. We need our laws to work. We have good policies, but they need to work. Ministry of Gender, please penalize the internalizing companies where there is need, because most of the companies are not penalized. We need a bilateral agreement between Uganda and India, because there are so many devastating cases coming from India. We need to work with migrant workers and survivors of trafficking if we are to address these matters regarding migration. My last point is, we are not fighting migration. We want to make migration safe and better for our people.
Amazing.
We are not fighting any externalization company. We want to make their job easier and safer for them and for the migrant workers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause because it's her final submission. A little more louder. I am waiting for everyone to be clapping before I go to the next person. Yes, Dr. Nate.
I think, thank you so much. I'll start with sensitization. You asked us about 3 areas. Sensitization, I think we scale up, because we have an election coming and the elected officials might be different, LCs, so that means we keep training. We have tried to sensitize from LC1, but we can leverage each other's resource and continue the sensitization I know the Northern Corridor has received a lot, Busia to Karamoja, but what's happening in Bulisa, Lake Alba, the Albertine region and all that, those are places where we can start projects and continue sensitization. And then, of course, government can use its structures and leverage that for sensitization. Corruption, I think we have the Witness Protection Bill that's not concluding. That's one to conclude on so that we can safeguard at least the witnesses, even in these crimes, as even law enforcement works on corruption. I think we have systemic corruption, so we must engage. One of the hardest things to engage in prevention is mindset change, right from the community. Because even you, when you got the job, your relatives said, now you can steal from the company where you've been employed. They're even celebrating when you're building houses that are beyond your salary. So it's systemic corruption, and we must address the mindset issues in Uganda. And mindset issues even go to our work ethic, because as much as we say we want to work well in Uganda, but Ugandans are becoming harder and harder to employ because we have systemic corrupt tendencies. When I go to resourcing, I think I already threw out a number of things. Resourcing is not easy, but one of the things I'm thinking about is the public-private partnerships. For instance, the national courier, as much as it has trouble, like for the India route, I know they land in Mumbai, but is there a way? There is a way they can subsidize the ticket for government or whoever so that the tickets are a little cheaper. The national courier supports on like repatriation, and also there are other public-private partnerships that can try to create jobs and absorb Ugandans, but also they have creative solutions. When you sit with the private sector, they don't think like NGO sector. They think very, very differently. There's a lot to learn from them in terms of thinking and creating opportunities for Ugandans. For instance, we keep saying, let's go vocational. When you look at the German model, they don't just go vocational. The private sector tells them and says, in the next 2 years, we need plumbers. And then they'll channel that training to absorb to a market that absorbs them. We don't just sit there and say, everyone does hairdressing. Who is going to absorb them? Every 10-year-old does hairdressing. How many of you are going to go do your hair with a 10-year-old? So even vocational is driven by private sector, and we need to begin thinking a certain way, where private sector tells us, in the next years, we have Kira Motors, they're going to need this kind of parts, and then the vocational things can align, and we have market at the end of, because when we do everyone, there are seamstresses. Do we have fine spinners? Does the AGOA market still absorb 30,000 seamstresses to see that Ugandan cotton shirts are sold somewhere? So what are we thinking about, and how are we planning at the tail end, even as we train, to absorb people?
Thank you very much. Academia, private, public, civil society partnership has been suggested. Afande, I don't think there's a question that was today. Oh, the Natete issue. And then also tell us, is there any particular collaboration between you and the police in India, please?
Thank you very much.
In 1.5 minutes. Afande.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I have like 3 questions that were raised, and then I'll make my comment. The first one was from Richard Obed about a Ugandan who was arrested and incarcerated in India. That person, I think, appeared in court, and he was taken to prison. So maybe until he concludes his prison sentence, that's when we may have him back. Probably, if not, then you can engage through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and see whether Uganda and India can reach a settlement in resolving that matter. Then there was another, of course it is connected to the same, why can't police investigate? I think I've already.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the issue of new best brothel. I will raise that with the commandant KMP. Then probably when we have a similar engagement next time, I will give you the outcome. Or you can approach me at my office, just a few distance from here, Interpol, and then I will give you a feedback. And in conclusion, I think you raised the issue of whether we lack resources or whatever. Yes, in everything there are resource implications. Why do we need resources? For perhaps the investigators, resources for sheltering, Because one of the things that I've noted is sometimes when...
Afande, if you just don't lose the point, I am begging that we conclude together this panel discussion as one panel. I feel like we have a lot of other panels. Can that be done, ladies and gentlemen? For just 5 minutes and to be done. Yes, Afande.
Yeah, we sometimes get information about some Ugandans that have been rescued and they want to be repatriated through Interpol. And of course, as Interpol, sometimes we don't have the money to buy the air ticket. And at various times, I've reached to some of the civil society organization for that purposes. And sometimes I go through the coordination office in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and sometimes they tell you that we don't have the money. So resource remains a problem. And apart from resource, the issue of corruption, I think government cannot fail to address the issue of corruption, especially if it involves investigation and prosecution. Government can put its efforts all together, like what you saw yesterday and in today's newspaper. Government cannot fail. But in addressing also this thing, apart from investigation, we need the intelligence. Where do we get the intelligence? We get the intelligence when we sit in a room like this. With the victims, we get the sources and so on and so forth. Like I mentioned earlier, when I met the organizer of this engagement, we shared with them some of the information which are very crucial that we can use it to start investigation within Uganda or with our counterpart in India. So nothing can defeat us if we put our acts together. Okay. And as I conclude, addressing some of these problems cannot be done with one entity alone. We need to join a hand together, share information, share intelligence, support each other in tackling the vice. Then we shall definitely succeed. Of course, when we add on top of that issues like sensitization, working as a team, I think we shall address that problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to Afande. And it should be a little bit louder because that was his last submission. And ladies and gentlemen, finally we are going to hear the closing remarks from the ambassador. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, moderator. There are two questions which I'm supposed to address. One was about the embassies visited and the recorded underfunding. It is true, this function, the consular services function, has been underfunded. But on our part as a department or as a ministry, we are working with the Minister of Finance, and I can report that they have also realized the importance of the need to finance consular funds services. And increasingly, we can see money now coming in to support. And we are also working with the ministry to ring-fence some money at mission level, specifically for consular work. Because unless it is ring-fenced, the likelihood that it will go for economic and commercial diplomacy is higher. So we are working with the Ministry of Finance to carve out specific funds at mission level to ensure that consular work is promoted and those in distress are supported and rescued. And I can tell you, missions like UAE are doing a good job. Now, India, as I said, is a new entrant in our face because it has been something which has been undercover, but we love it that now the voices are heard and the ministry and the country at large are aware of the challenges in India. And my colleague Richard here would have said something, but I know when I talked to finance, they assured me that the mission in India has been given adequate financing, and with good coordination with the honorary consuls, a lot can be achieved. So we bank on that. Financing is increasing, and collaborations are going to become vital. Yes, there is no work. There's a huge, high level of unemployment in India. Why is it so easy for people to enter India? I can tell you that many of these are, I talked about the deception. Many of them don't know about India. First of all, you know, it's not a developing country. It's high middle income country, isn't it? So people think that there is some work. They can be deceived that you can work in the restaurant, you can work in the saloons, and they are told that there is some work. Deceptively, they find them. Others camouflage as accompanying what? They are accompanying the sick. They are going to study. They tell a lot of stories because the traffickers promise them heaven, but they suggest alternatives. It's not true that all of them go with a promised job, but they are promised that they will find work, the traffickers. That is what I can say. But as on a closing note, on the areas which you raised, the issue of corruption, we can only say, let's raise our voices beyond this room. Everyone, and I can tell you, and my colleague here would attest, that these people are also now on the back foot. Within Dubai, if you went to, what is that place? Deira. I went there during the time of the famous Mwesigwa, and all the streets had been cleared because you only know Mwesigwa, but indeed we arrested the 3 promoters of this vice. They are all in jail. So as we collaborate, even at national level, country level in India, if we can work closely with the government of India to arrest the traffickers, the vice can greatly reduce because nobody is now paying or attracting. So we can work together, starve the corrupt, and all will be well. I think that's what I can tell.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to the ambassador. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope after today we have moved one step closer from transforming our compassion to coordination, from empathy to policy, from dialogue into measurable change. And as I'm leaving you, I always ask you to abide in faith, in hope, in love, but always remember, love transcends. And as we rise up and you prepare to come and stand behind for a photo, the organizers, as we're standing up, someone will be pushing the chairs a little bit in front as we clap for the able gentlemen and ladies with me. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we thank. Please clap until I tell you to stop. Put your hands together for Lady Joanita. A little louder, and put your hands together for Dr. Annette. A round of applause to Dr. Annette. Put a round of applause to AIGP. A little louder. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the ambassador and for being here with us until now. And you have been a good audience. Please come and take a photo with us. We beg. Thank you very much. Asante sana, mwibare nyo, mwibare mnonga, murakoze chane. Please come and join us. All of us, join us for a group photo. Let's move, my friends, like we are powerfully committed to fighting this thing. I actually don't want any person apart from the photographer and the videographer this side. Not even a single individual. So I'm going to request the panelists to sit. On this. Again, I don't expect anyone except the photographers. Even the media can join us, as long as you're not a photographer. And then as we are taking photos, some people can come and stand here. Oba muntu here. As we finish this photo, the coupons are going to be given out, and then we shall resume at 3. There are better programs in the afternoon, so please don't leave. Uh-huh. No one apart from the photographer. This side. No one that side apart from the photographer. I am still the moderator of the session. It is the only time when I have power over everyone. Please. Thank you very much. The coupons are going to move around. For now, I hand over the microphone to the MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think let's give a round of applause to the moderator. Is that the best we can do? A round of applause to the moderator.
Sure.
Yeah, we are expected all to have coupons. If you don't have, let me know. We are going to Kololo Dining Hall. Kololo Dining Hall is where we are going to have our lunch. When you get out, take left. And for the online audience, let's resume at 3 p.m. Thanks for being patient with us, for following us, for standing with us. 3 p.m. we shall be back. Let everyone come back in the afternoon. We have a very short program to conclude. We all move out in the interest of time. It's already 2 o'clock, or we are already coming to 2. Let's move out and go to the Kololo Dining Hall. And members, let's not leave, let's come back. And we conclude this symposium together.
Check.
Let's move to the dining, please. What's the time? Yeah. By 10 minutes to 3, we all should be back here. If you don't have a coupon, I think I was given one. If you don't have a coupon, let's know. If you don't have a coupon, let's know.